What up, what up, what up, everybody? What's good? What's good? We back for another one, man. Back for another one. Big news breaking right now surrounding Manny Pacquiao. And I just wanted to drop in, give my 2 cents, let everybody know what's going on. If you heard already, yes, it is true. Yes, it is true. I don't know if it's completely official yet, but let me test the audio. All right, we good there. I don't know if it's completely official yet as far as the contracts being signed, but from what I'm hearing, Terence Crawford has agreed to the what they're saying is a 60. What did they say? 61. I think it said 61-39 split of the purse. There are details coming out surrounding Manny Pacquiao's portion of the purse, Terence Crawford's portion of the purse. And like I just said, yes, it is true. A lot of people are reporting right now that Terence Crawford has agreed to Manny Pacquiao's terms. I'm not saying that the contract is signed, but people are saying that Terence Crawford has officially agreed to the terms of the contract. This is great news if you ask me, man. It means we're going in the right direction. It doesn't mean the fight's definitely signed yet, but it does mean both guys are on board to make this fight happen. I think it's going to be up to Bob Arum at this point to accept Pacquiao's terms. Hit that like button for me as y'all come in, man. Dropping this Pacquiao news for y'all. Streams tripping a little bit right now, man. Just got to bear with me. Hit that like button for me on Pacquiao for me. Uppercut it, hook it, jab it, whatever you got to do. Let me know you in here. Drop me some comments. Let me know who I got up in here, so we can get this convo on. But yes, I was gonna wait until later on tonight to make a video because Caps and Full G wanted to come on, but I was scrolling around, the articles, man, looking for new news. Was going through YouTube looking for new news, and lo and behold, I stumbled upon a few channels that were saying that Terence Crawford has come out and said that he agrees to Pacquiao's terms. He'll take what they're saying is a 61-39 split, I believe is what they said. Terence Crawford will get 39% of the purse. Pacquiao will get 61% of the purse. Terence Crawford's agreeing to be the B side. From what I'm hearing, Pacquiao is the A side in this fight. It is going to be overseas. From what I'm hearing, that's not, like I said, not completely official yet. From what I'm hearing, it's going to be overseas. The investors have said that they have Pacquiao's portion of the money already. So the $40 million that Pacquiao is demanding for the fight, there's an investor group. I believe it's called the Angle Group or the Angel Group. From what I'm hearing, these are the people. These are the investors that are backing the fight. I'm not sure if that's exactly the name, but that's what I'm hearing of the group. But this is what I'm hearing. Pacquiao's portion of the money, the $40 million, is in the bank. They waiting on Bob Arum and Terence Crawford. From what I'm hearing, Terence Crawford has agreed to take the $10 million split. Is Bob Arum willing to agree to take that $10 million split? Because from what it's sounding like is the investor group is going to put up Pacquiao's portion of the money, and I guess they're wanting Bob Arum to put up Crawford's portion of the money, which would be the $10 million guaranteed, and then I guess they would be splitting the gate and whatever pay-per-views sales come off of this fight. So this is big news, man. I think this fight is actually going to happen. I think that Cinco de Mayo date is probably what it's going to land on. I feel like all systems are pretty much go at this point. I don't know, who broke this news officially. I mean, who was the first one to break this news? I know the channel I was watching when I saw that that was the first channel I saw reporting it. Then I saw another channel reporting it. I went to go try to find some articles on it, which I still can't. I still can't find any articles on who Terence Crawford spoke with to break this news that he was accepting the 39-61 split. Let me check, see if they've dropped anything just yet. No, not yet. But I do have some other things I want to touch on as far as Manny Pacquiao goes. But let me know what y'all think about that. So do y'all feel like the fight is on now? Do y'all feel like it's a go? Because Terence Crawford has officially said, given a statement about the purse, that $10 million and that $40 million, and there are people coming out and saying that the investor group already has Manny Pacquiao's portion of the money, which I had already believed to be the case, but now it's other people are reporting it too, so you don't just have to believe me, what I'm saying. This is the new news that's going around at the moment. As far as Bob Arum and Terence Crawford's portion of the money, I don't know if they have to come up with the whole amount or if they want Bob Arum to put up a portion of Crawford's amount. And because that could be something that holds this fight back. If they want Bob Arum, we all know how cheap Bob Arum is. If they want Bob Arum to put up $10 million, I'm not sure Bob Arum's willing to put $10 million up. Even though the investor group is saying, well, we're going to put up $40 million for Pacquiao versus your $10 million. I think Bob Arum would be completely crazy to turn that split down. If he only has to put up $10 million period, then he gets a portion of the gate, the portion of the pay-per-view sales, and whatever other promotions, maybe whatever other promotions go along, getting to co-promote the fight and things. So I don't know why Bob Arum would turn that down. I can't think of a reason in my mind that would make him say, I don't want to go along with this, unless that Errol Spence fight was to pop up somehow. But I don't see the Errol Spence fight generating. It'll be a huge fight, but I don't see it generating what Crawford versus Pacquiao would generate. So, this is good news for everybody. It's big news. It's another step in the right direction. It's only Wednesday, so, we got Thursday and Friday. Normally, a lot of news doesn't come out on the weekends, but we might get some more news popping up here really soon. I'm gonna definitely keep rolling through the articles to try to find out what's officially going on. But for right now, I'll repeat it one more time. There are multiple people reporting that Terence Crawford has accepted what they're saying is a 69-31 split of the purse in favor of Pacquiao, which would be the $10 million that Terence Crawford was offered. And there's an investor group, I believe it's called the Angel Group or the Angel Group, that already has Manny Pacquiao's $40 million in the bank ready to go as long as Crawford and Bob Arum decide to sign the contract. So there's some other things I wanted to get into, man. Let me know what y'all think. Who all we got in here right now? We got 12 people in here right now, man. Could y'all please, Pacquiao the like button for me. Uppercut it, jab it, hook it, whatever you got to do. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please hit the like button so we can get shared out to more people. Drop me a comment, man. Let me know what y'all think so far. We got a lot to talk about today as far as this fight goes, man. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Who could potentially he fight next? Who, if this fight don't happen, I think if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't get signed, I think he has to go in the direction of Errol Spence Jr. I don't feel like he should be trying to take a step backwards as far as opponent goes. But I don't see anything else holding this fight back. You got Pacquiao saying, hey, I'm willing to do it. Just give me $40 million. You got Crawford saying, hey, $10 million is the biggest payday I've ever had in my life. I want to do it. The only one we haven't heard from, well, we heard something from Bob Arum the other day, say he was negotiating terms, but as far as officially today, we haven't heard anything from Bob Arum yet. But I think pretty soon we're gonna hear a lot more news coming out surrounding this. Tycoon says, salute Cardinal, salute man, what's good? Kabaya says, salute, is that a news or just or hearsay, man. To be honest with you, it's been speculated. Yeah, it's been speculated. A lot of people are saying that. Like I said, I can't find any official news sources, like official sports news sources, backing up what they're saying. But it's not just one person. It would be different. I wouldn't come on here and say nothing about it if it was just one person saying it, but there are multiple people saying it. So I do at least want to give my thoughts about it. As far as me personally, I would say 90% is probably true. I'm pretty sure Terence Crawford has something to say about it. If he already offered it to them, eventually we're going to hear Crawford, give some type of feedback about it. And up to this point, we haven't heard anything from Crawford. We heard Bob Arum give his interview the other day. I believe it was the Fight Hype TV. And, he said what he said. Now Terence Crawford's coming out and giving his 2 cents about it. And I think, I wouldn't doubt that what he's saying is true. Now, like I said, does that mean that the fight is signed? It don't mean it's signed. It don't mean that Bob Arum has agreed to the terms. It just means Pacquiao and Crawford are on the same page when it comes to what Pacquiao's offering them. Now, I do think, like I said, they're saying that the investor group is putting up Pacquiao's portion of the money, and I think that might be something that might hold this fight back from happening. If they're expecting Bob Arum to put up the whole $10 million, and y'all see how Bob Arum's been acting about money, if they're expecting Arum to put up that whole $10 million, it could really affect this fight from happening. But if the investor group's putting up 40 for Pacquiao, I don't see why Bob Arum would turn down that offer. I mean, in that case, to me, it's going to be a huge fight. They've already got something huge lined up. They got something probably that's somewhere that's open, obviously, where they can have a full venue, because $40 million is a lot to be trying to recoup. Maybe Pacquiao doesn't want a portion of the gate. Maybe he just wants a portion of the TV money and the $40 million. So maybe he'll end up somewhere around 42, 43 million for that fight. It's going to be interesting. These are huge numbers that's being thrown out there. So I feel like if the investor group is putting up 40, they already got a venue in mind. They already have a place where they know that's open enough to where they can fill that stadium up and make that money back. And it would be crazy for Bob Arum to turn down those terms. $10 million is not a lot of money to what could be the hugest fight of probably the biggest fighter in your stable. Terence Crawford's career, this could really generate a whole lot of money. Terence Crawford stands to make somewhere around $40-50 million if he wins this fight. So in my mind, that these are huge numbers that's being thrown out. And I know a lot of people probably can't believe that these numbers are so big because of what's going on in the world, but hey, it's not affecting everywhere in the same way that it's affecting like America and other parts of the world. So it's gonna be interesting how this plays out. Let me see what y'all talking about. Ryan Lamb says Pacquiao wants to be paid in dodging coin. Kambayan says, how about purse bid, Red? The split is 40% Pacquiao, 40 million Pacquiao, 10 million Crawford. I believe that's what they said is a 31-69 split. So the bid is already out there. That's what they're bidding. If Crawford is accepting this, or he's come out and made his statement saying, I'm down with the terms. Obviously, he doesn't want to negotiate the terms in it. He's happy with what he would be making off of that fight. So I don't think there would be another purse bid offered unless it came from Bob Arum, and then we'd have to see whether Pacquiao and his team decide to accept what Bob Arum is counter offering. Okay, I got that one. Van Helsing, where is the source of this news? It's coming from a few other boxing channels on YouTube. Like I said, it's not. I can't find anything official on from any news sources as far as official news sources for sports. It's not coming from Boxing News 24. It's not coming from none of those type of sources. But it is definitely coming from some reputable sources from what people think on YouTube. So I'm not sure if it's, like I said, 100% certain yet. And like I said, this doesn't mean that they've signed the fight. It only means Terence Crawford has said he would agree to those terms as long as Bob Arum agrees to those terms. And for basically what they're saying is, it's on. But basically what Crawford's saying is it's on. I agree to this. I take the $10 million and Pacquiao can have the 40 as long as Bob Arum doesn't have to put nothing on the 40. And they're saying that there's an investor group that already has Pacquiao's money in the bank. They're already ready to go. They're just waiting for the other side to say yes to this. So, hey, man, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the messenger. I'm trying to bring y'all what's really going on right now, man. So, don't get mad at me. I'm looking for news surrounding it, man. Believe me, the first thing I did was try to go and verify it versus a real reputable source as far as a news source. But there is no news source saying anything about it. There are only YouTube boxing sources that are confirming, and they had some pretty reputable people talking about this. So it didn't come from me. It came from their sources and a few other sources. So I'm going to do what I got to do as far as reporting it to the people that follow me, that are in my community that want to hear this news. So it is what it is. All right. D'Angelo Benning says, told y'all, now watch greatness. All right. There's a message on that I'm not going to repeat. Peter from Finland. If you got something positive to say, man, we'll unblock your message. Other than that, I'm not putting that out there, man. You wouldn't never say that to my face, so it is what it is. Come find me and say it to my face, and and then I'll unblock your message. H.S. Dre Saint, Uncle Bob, make this fight happen. I'm saying it's all in Bob Arum's hands right now. Pacquiao and his team has come out and said what they have to say about it. Bob Arum said that he's negotiating. Crawford's come out and say, okay, $10 million, I'm fine with that. Pacquiao can take the $40 million. I don't have a problem with that. And now they're saying that not only did Crawford come out and say that he'll take the $10 million, but there's an investor group putting up Pacquiao's portion of the money, so it should be even more incentive for Bob Arum to sign this fight. The only thing that might hold it back is the money and the fact that if Pacquiao does win this fight, it puts Bob Arum and Terence Crawford in a real peculiar situation. Where do they go from there if they lose? Obviously, Terence Crawford's not going to re-sign to Top Rank, and obviously Bob Arum's not going to offer Terence Crawford the same type of deal he had prior to losing. So a lot on the line for Uncle Bob, as Saint likes to call him, and Terence Crawford at this point. But you take nothing away from Crawford. He's come out and said, "Hey man, I'll take that $10 million." So shout out to him. He's not ducking. So nobody can say he's ducking, according to what's being reported. All right, so Tycoon TV says, I tell you what, he better not lose to Manny, because that's going to kill his whole career, because his resume is weak as it is. Man, like I just said, it's going to be horrible if he takes a loss. I mean, not only is he not going to get that $5 million guarantee he was getting from Bob Arum, he's probably going to end up, Bob Arum will probably end up lowballing him like he's been lowballing all the other welterweights. $1 million, $1.5 million per fight, $2 million per fight, probably on the highest end. Or he can just go sign with PBC and, be a B-list fighter behind Errol Spence and everybody else, or he can just go into retirement. I think he would do the third, which is go into retirement for probably about a year and then try to make some type of comeback. But we'll see. Kabayan says, in America, everything you buy is fixed. In the Philippines, everything can be bargained. Maybe Pacquiao have to mentally have that mentality, Red. You could be right. I'm hoping that he doesn't let if Arum says 10 million's too much. I need y'all to come down a little bit. Hopefully he's willing to say, okay, I'll go down as low as 30 million and give you guys another 5 if you just sign the fight. I'm hoping Pacquiao's willing to negotiate like that. Maybe that's why Bob Arum hasn't officially said anything about this yet, but we don't know yet. Like I said, Terence Crawford said, from what I'm hearing, $10 million is cool with him. So, but it's not completely up to Terence Crawford to make fights. It's up to Bob Arum to make the fights. It's up to Terence Crawford to win the fight. So we got to see. Ben Israel, Shalom, Red Team Man down in the building. 100. What's good, Ben Israel? Good to see you back, bro. I'm glad you could come in and join us, man. Who all in the chat? There's 24 people in here right now. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's heard this news. So who all has heard already what I'm talking about and what I'm saying that's being reported? Plus, there's 25 people in here right now. If y'all could please Pacquiao the like button for me so we can get shared out to more people and more people can join the conversation in the chat so we can have a better conversation. So please, Pacquiao the like button. Hook it, jab it, uppercut it, man. Just get them numbers up just a little bit for me. Okay. Tycoon TV said he's hearing the same thing. Okay, so I know it ain't just me. I'm not putting nothing out there that's fake, man. I wish I could have been the first one to talk about this, but I don't have all the sources that some of these other channels have. Some of these other channels are right there next to where Pacquiao's at. Training, so they have the ability to get first-hand news that I can't get. But like I told y'all, definitely it's coming from a couple of what people believe to be reputable YouTube boxing channels. I'm not just grabbing this out of nowhere. As far as what I said about the money and Crawford agreeing to it, it's coming from this is all coming from the same source. As far as Pacquiao's portion, it's all coming from the same source. They're saying that the investor group, I'm not sure if it's the Angle group or the Angel group, but they're saying that they got Pacquiao's portion of the money already. They're saying Crawford agreed to the $10 million. Now it's up to Bob Arum to, say he agrees to everything, agrees to the venue, I guess, and agrees to put up his portion of the money. Mason KWM, Cardinal Red, double thumbs up. I appreciate that, Mason. Appreciate you, brother. Kabayan says it will be a good Crawford. It will be good for Crawford in every way. If Pac lost, fans will ask for a rematch. Another $1 million pay for Crawford. Very true. I do think that, but it would depend on how bad Manny Pacquiao lost. If Crawford knocks Pacquiao out, I think it's over. I think it's pretty much over at that point for Manny Pacquiao. Already people are saying he's too old. He should be out of the sport. He's holding things up. So if he takes this fight and gets knocked out, there's no way Bob Arum is going to agree to give him a rematch. Fans might demand it, but there's no way Bob Arum's going to agree to that. And you can just wipe any kind of Errol Spence fight off the map. That's not going to happen if Pacquiao loses. But if Pacquiao wins, if he goes in here and wins, even on points, if he wins, it does a lot for the rest of Manny Pacquiao's career, and it almost completely, depending on how he loses, how Crawford loses, completely destroys Terence Crawford's career at the same time. So it's going to be interesting to how this plays out. Does this finally get signed, this week? Do we have to wait it out another week? who's the favorite going into this fight, because we know who the A side and the B side is, and who's agreeing to what and where the money's coming from. But you know who's the favorite in this fight at this point. I can't wait to see some official training video from Manny Pacquiao on how he's officially looking, because we're only getting snippets at this point. So I just can't wait for all this to start unfolding and seeing how this is gonna play out, man. Because we are getting close to May. It's creeping up on us real fast. So we only got about 2.5 months before May will be here. And this fight needs to be signed, man. Let's get it going. Okay, let's see. Sherwin Reyes. Pacquiao versus Crawford fight is about greatness and the ultimate best than any boxing fights. Presently available in the reference to Errol Spence or even Mayweather. Manny is the face of boxing. Hey, man, I agree with you there. I think Manny Pacquiao, because of Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford are going to become even more famous once he's gone. And if whoever gets to fight him, if one of these guys fights and loses to him, it might look bad, but if one of these guys fights and beats him, oh boy, what that does for their boxing career and their legacy going into the future. But I'm riding for Pacquiao. I hope he wins, man. I want him to win. I don't want him to lose. I think he has what it takes to win. I think he will win the fight. I just can't wait for it to officially be announced so I can give my full perspective on how I think it's going to play out, and to start seeing training video from Crawford and from Pacquiao, so we can start comparing how we might think this fight's going to play out, and to start seeing sparring footage from Pacquiao, so we can see who Pacquiao's going to spar with for this fight, who he's gonna, how he looks as far as in sparring and everything. It's gonna be really interesting. It would be. I think Pacquiao might go after a guy like Jordanius Ugas as a sparring partner to prepare for this fight. Maybe even Sean Porter. He might go after, try to see if he can get Sean Porter in camp. And you guys at the same time could start preparing for his potential fight with Errol Spence. So I can't wait. I think the most interesting thing going into this fight is going to be Pacquiao sparring sessions. How does he look? Who's he going up against? Who does he use to prepare for Terence Crawford? I think those are going to be real interesting questions. And I can't wait for these answers to start rolling out here, man. Let's see. Mason KWM, Cardinal Red versus ES News in a boxing match. Let me see. I think he has trained, but I've never seen ES or Ellie really ever lace the gloves up. I can't remember exactly. I think when I first started watching him, he might have laced the gloves up a few times in a few sparring sessions. But I can't remember. It was so long ago. I can't remember how good he did or how he looked or anything. But if you ask me, I don't even know how old Ellie is. Ellie might be in his 40s or something. So, I don't know. I think I'd probably get with him. We are around the same height. I don't know how much he weighs or whatever. I would make him come down. We would have to fight at like 140. I make him drop weight. He gonna come see me at 140, and I get with him at 140. I take ES down at 140. If anybody got $20 to put on, if we could put $600 together, we can get ES News to agree to fight. To fight me, man. We can put it on. We can put it on his channel. We can all make a ton of money. I'm gonna knock him through the ropes. We make that a preliminary fight for Crawford versus Pacquiao. Alright, man, y'all crazy with these fantasy fights y'all been putting together. Alright, let's see. Ben Israel, they ducking EJ. Pac-Man and Bud face facts, Red. EJ got one seat for you, Red. You silly, man. All right, man. I'm never gonna say that they ducking simply because, especially not Pacquiao, because he hasn't offered Pacquiao anything. I can't really. He offered Crawford, the 60-40 split. Crawford don't want it. You can call it ducking if you want to. It's up to you what you decide to call it. I'm gonna say, he just didn't offer him enough money. It could be ducking. You call it what you want to, but I don't think Pacquiao's ducking Errol Spence though. But we'll get into all that, man. Let's see here. Sherwin Reyes says 40 million of Pacquiao of Pacquiao is worth investing. Talking about greatness of Pacquiao versus Crawford fight. I feel like the 40 million is worth it, and that's what we're gonna get into here. And some other stuff broke today too, as far as Manny Pacquiao, how much Manny Pacquiao's made and his net worth over his entire career. It's finally been released, so I wanted to get into that. So you segue right into the perfect thing right there, Sharon Reyes. I want to talk a little bit about Manny Pacquiao's career and how much money Pacquiao's actually generated off some of these fights. So you can compare what he's made in the past to what he could potentially be making in the future. All right, so I'm gonna start off on the low end. In the beginning of Pacquiao's career, and I'm gonna give shout out to the people who put out this article. It comes from Give Me Sport. Manny Pacquiao's net worth and career earnings have been revealed. So if you're ever wondering how much Manny Pacquiao has made over his entire career, I'm about to let you know. And how much Pacquiao really deserves to be making per fight. We about to get into that. There are few bigger names in boxing than that of Manny Pacquiao. The Filipino is the only 8-division world champion in history of the sport and has been part of some of the most lucrative fights in history. The 42-year-old has some of the fastest hands out there, and having grown up in the midst of difficult circumstances, have carved out an incredible career for himself. Fights with Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Juan Manuel Marquez all proved to be big money spinners, but in his fight with Floyd Mayweather in 2015, eclipsed the lot. The fight of the century, Pacquiao's clash with Mayweather gained interest globally. Pay-per-views were selling like hotcakes all over the world, making the fight one of the highest grossing events in the history of combat sports. Mayweather would go on to inflict a crushing loss on Pacquiao, but the Filipino still ultimately walked away with a reported $130 million. So for everybody saying that Pacquiao got robbed for the Mayweather fight, Pacquiao didn't get what he was supposed to get for the Mayweather fight. He ain't got no money left. For just the Mayweather fight, he raked in off the gate, off the purse, and off the pay-per-view numbers, somewhere around $130 million just for that fight. So Manny Pacquiao is nowhere near broke. He's not out here begging for money. He could fund his own election right now with just what I've seen that he's made in his boxing career, which I'm gonna get to in a second. But don't always believe the hype or and the narrative of what people are trying to push to you, because it's not always true. So let me finish this off. Pacquiao now spends his time in politics in his home nation, but is yet to officially retire from the fight game, with rumors starting to grow that he could make a sensational return later this year. While we wait for official confirmation of that, we thought we would have a quick run through of his biggest career earning as well as his net worth. So I want to get into why I think this makes a difference, because I don't think Pacquiao's doing all this just for money. I doubt that I don't think any of this is for money. which is why I think, you know, some of these potential fights that people are talking about, like Garcia, you know, McGregor, they're going to have to reach a certain number for the fight to be made, and I don't think they're going to reach that number. Like the McGregor fight now is not going to reach that number because he got beat by Poirier. Nobody wants to see Manny Pacquiao fight Ryan Garcia. Nobody wants to see Manny Pacquiao fight Mikey Garcia. Nobody wants to see him fight Danny Garcia. I think there's a little bit of interest in the Porter fight. There's more interest for some reason, in a Thurman rematch. There's high interest in this Crawford fight. There's for some reason, I think there's more interest starting to be shown for the Crawford fight than the Errol Spence fight. I think at first it was the other way around. Like, more people wanted to see Pacquiao fight Spence Jr., but now I think a lot more people are intrigued about this fight between Crawford and Pacquiao. I think a lot more people are noticing that Crawford's resume is not what it's been hyped up to be. A lot of people are noticing maybe his chin isn't what it's hyped up to be. And the perfect opponent to put him in there with would be none other than Manny Pacquiao. So it's going to be really interesting. I think this whole money aspect, it plays a role, because if they're offering him $40 million for this fight, it just lets me know the interest is out there for this fight to be made. And like I said, they must already have a venue and a place and put together that is open to where they can recruit their money. So let me move on. All right. So if you want to know how much Manny Pacquiao's been making off of some of his fights, man, in his past and in the present, let's just go with some of his past fights about 10 years ago. So about 10 years ago, Manny Pacquiao, when he fought, this is a little bit more than 10 years ago, but when he fought Errol Morales in 2006, he made $2 million flat for that fight. Okay, so that was in 2006. He also fought Oscar Lororis in 2006 and made $1 million for that fight. Okay, he moved on. He fought Errol Morales again in 2006. So he had 3 fights in 2006. Just think about that. He fought 3 times in 2006, and 2 of those fights were Errol Morales. How spectacular is that? You know, Crawford hasn't even fought a credible champion yet. Pacquiao fought 3 times in 2006 and fought one of the best names in boxing, and that was Errol Morales, and fought him twice in the same year. So pretty amazing to even think about that. And he got $3 million for the second Morales fight. All right, he fought in 2007 Jorge Solis, and he got $2 million for that fight. Okay, now the purse is about to start moving up really high. He fought Marco Antonio Barrera, who back in the day before I really got into Pacquiao, him and Morales were my favorite fighter. You know, Barrera, when he fought Barrera, he kind of crushed my favorite fighter, my ultimate dream of boxing. I thought Barrera was going to be was going to keep elevating in the sport, and Pacquiao just took him out like it wasn't nothing. So he got $2 million for fighting Barrera in October of 2007. All right, let's move on. Now the purses are about to really start jumping up. He fought Oscar De La Hoya in 2008 and made $11 million for that fight. Now, in today's terms, $11 million he would have probably made $40 million for that fight in today's money. So, if you're wondering why he's commanding such a high purse, just think about that. In 2008, for fighting one of the best fighters in history, Oscar De La Hoya, who was one of the greatest welterweights in history, no arguing that from anybody. He got $11 million for that fight. So in today's numbers, this is over 10 years ago, that would be somewhere around $35 to $45 million he would have got for that fight. And that would have been well over $100 million fight. So don't think he's asking for too much money. All right, let's move on. In 2009, the following year, Pacquiao's popularity is now rocketing after he demolished Oscar De La Hoya. He made Oscar De La Hoya quit. He fought Ricky Hatton. He knocked Ricky Hatton almost through the ring. He got $12 million for that fight. Now, Ricky Hatton's not even on the level of Oscar De La Hoya as far as boxing skill, if you ask me. But Ricky Hatton was on the level of popularity in the UK of an Oscar De La Hoya, and maybe even further than an Oscar De La Hoya. So Manny Pacquiao got $12 million for that fight, which would have commanded him in today's numbers somewhere around $40 to $50 million. This is in 2009, all right? So let me move on. I'm trying to get through this fast. He fought Margarito in 2009. This is in the same year he floored Ricky Hatton, okay? So, and this goes to show you how messed up the sport of boxing is now. What effect Floyd Mayweather has really had on the sport of boxing. And these guys these new fighters not wanting to fight each other, where Manny Pacquiao not only was fighting the best guys, but was fighting multiple guys in the same year. Multiple top tier names in the same year and demolishing them. So he fought Ricky Hatton in 2009, got $12 million for that fight. He fought Miguel Cotto in 2009 and got $35 million for that fight. He fought Miguel Cotto and made $35 million. So let's put that in today's money. So if you got to at least double what he made in 2009 in today's numbers, so he would have made somewhere around $80 million for that fight in today's money. So if you think he's commanding too much for this fight, to be fighting who is supposed to be the top welterweight of the day, Terence Crawford, you dreaming, man. He got $35 million to fight Miguel Cotto in 2009. Yes, it was a different time. There was no coronavirus in 2009, but this is still the sport of boxing. Guys are still making ridiculous amounts of money. And why should Manny Pacquiao be left out of the humongous purse bid when he's the biggest name still in the sport of boxing? Besides Floyd Mayweather making a comeback, there is no bigger name in the sport of boxing other than Canelo and maybe Triple G and Fury, besides Manny Pacquiao. I would make those the top 5 names in the sport of boxing. It would be Canelo, Mayweather, Pacquiao, Fury, and Triple G. So this was 2009. Okay, he got $35 million for that fight. And he turned around, fought Antonio Margarito 1 year later in 2010, and got another $35 million for that fight. All right, so, we move on to 2011. He fights Shane Mosley. He gets $20 million for fighting Shane Mosley. So, Mosley wasn't even a top tier. I guess he was in them days. He was a top tier name, but he wasn't the highest level of welterweight. He was probably like like a Sean Porter or a Danny Garcia of his day. So he fought Mosley. He got $20 million for fighting Mosley. He turned around, fought Juan Manuel Marquez. Same year, 2011. He fought Mosley and Marquez. Same year. And these guys won't even fight each other nowadays. In the same year, he fought Mosley and Marquez. He got $20 million for fighting Marquez. So in 1 year, he made $40 million off of 2 fights. All right, and that was in 2011. In 2012, he fought Timothy Bradley. He got $20 million for that fight when he fought Timothy Bradley the first time. And I believe that's the fight where they cheated Pacquiao the first time. And this is under Bob Arum. This is what Bob Arum was paying him per fight. Bob Arum was giving him $35 million for the Cotto fight, $35 million for the Antonio Margarito fight, $20 million for the Shane Mosley fight, $20 million for the Marquez fight, $20 million for the Bradley fight. Okay, he turns around, he fights Juan Manuel Marquez again in 2012, and he got $30 million in 2012 for that Marquez fight. That would be $60 to $70 million in today's time, in today's money. He turned around, he fought Brandon Rios. Who would say Brandon Rios is a top tier fighter? Now, this is all under the top ranked banner. He turned around, fought Brandon Rios, and got $30 million for fighting Brandon Rios in 2013. That was his, his guarantee was $20 million, but he ended up getting $30 million for that fight. So, for people to say, he's commanding too much money for these fights, in today's time, he fought a up-and-coming fighter, Brandon Rios, who wasn't even a big name in 2013. Brandon Rios, who would probably be the equivalent to maybe a Jordanis Ugas of today, or maybe Danny Garcia of today, or Mikey Garcia of today. He got $30 million for that fight. Okay, so he fought Timothy Bradley. He got another in 2014, got his belt back, got another $20 million for that fight. He turned around, he fought Chris Algieri. Okay, Chris Algieri, a complete, I won't call Algieri a nobody, but definitely not a top tier name in the welterweight. I don't know where Chris Algieri came from, or how he even became a name in the sport. But he fought Algieri. He got $20 million for that fight. Okay, and then he turned around in 15. That was 2014. In 15, he fought Floyd Mayweather. He made $130 million for that fight. $130 million. Super crazy number. Can't even believe it. It's almost ridiculous. But yes, that's what he made for that fight. Okay, so he turned around. He fought Timothy Bradley for the third time, and he made $33 million off the third Timothy Bradley fight in 2016. This is all under top ranked banner. He made $33 million, which would be somewhere around $80 or $90 million today in 2021. Even with the coronavirus going on, it would still be it should still be somewhere around that number, because if Floyd Mayweather came back, this is what he would be commanding. He would be commanding what he was making back then, plus it would be doubled, being that it's 5-10 years later, and for inflation and everything, those numbers are going to go up. So he fought Timothy Bradley, got 33. He fought Jesse Vargas in 2016. He got $10 million for that fight. This is when the purses started to change for Manny Pacquiao. He fought in 1 year. He fought 3 fights. He fought Timothy Bradley, Jesse Vargas, and Adrian. That can't be right. And Adrian Broner, that can't be right. I don't think he brought Broner in 2016. But it's saying Timothy Bradley, Jesse Vargas, and Adrian Broner all in 2016, which I don't think was right. And he made $10 million off the Broner fight. He made let's see. And they don't have the Keith Thurman fight on her. But y'all see the pattern of what Pacquiao should actually be making off of these fights. The number went back down because Pacquiao started to promote himself. But now that he's under the PBC banner, he should still be getting somewhere around $30 to $40 million for a fight. I don't feel like what he's commanding is anything out of the ordinary for his status of fighter. He is one of the greatest fighters to ever lace up the gloves, if not the greatest fighter to ever lace up the gloves, arguably. Ask anybody, nobody would deny that fact if you ask me. And for anybody to say he don't deserve $40 million for a fight with Terence Crawford is completely tripping, man, in my personal opinion. So I appreciate you, Sherwin Reyes, for even bringing that up, because I was leading into that anyway, man. So I'm going to get back in here into the chat. Ben Israel, my favorite fighter would be anybody favorite fighter. Stop it. Man down. Fabian Gamba, I think it's safe to say Crawford the bigger draw if he got Pacquiao that much money on the strength. But I don't feel like Fabio that he is the draw in this fight. And nobody would say Crawford is the draw. Crawford hasn't sold pay-per-views on his own at all within his career. So I don't feel like you can say that Crawford is the draw in this fight. or that it's Crawford that's commanding that money. Believe me, if Pacquiao wasn't involved in this fight, those investors wouldn't be investing $40 million into Crawford. You see, they're only offering him $10 million, and he's happy to accept that because even he knows that he doesn't sell very well on pay-per-view. Not that he's not talented, he doesn't sell pay-per-views, so he needs a Manny Pacquiao name to be attached to it for the fight to be sold. It's not Crawford bringing in this money; it's Pacquiao. Ben Israel, Bud not is not the bigger draw at Fabio. Mason KWM, you could KO him. You talk about ES? Let me listen. I'm not a hater, man. But I think I'm probably I might be in better shape than ES. I don't know how old ES News is. I think he's a little bit older than I am. Not to give away my age or anything, but I think he's a little older than I am. He don't seem like he's really into boxing as far as him being a boxer. I'm probably a little bit more into boxing than ES News as far as actual fighting. I don't mind lacing up and sparring with people or even training within the sport. He likes boxing, but in a different way than I do. So I think it would be an advantage if I fought ES News. I don't think that's the proper matchup. But if I did fight ES News and y'all put up that $700, because I think that's all it would take. Y'all get y'all 20s together so y'all can get this fight together. But I probably would beat him. I probably would beat him on points. I wouldn't try to knock him out. I'd probably beat him on points. I think there's some better matchups out there for me though. I got a few guys in mind as far as other boxing channels. I would prefer to match up with simply because I think they would give me a better fight. Not to brag or boast or say I'm some bad boxer out here or something. I just feel like that some of these guys that they're not as into boxing as far as training and stuff as I am, and their health and staying in shape as I am. So I think I'll have a little bit of an advantage. Ben Israel 100. 400 on you, don't play. Hey, if you got it, man, y'all hit ES News up, man. We can put it together, man. That would make me go even harder. If people actually bet on that, then I might try to knock him out, man. But I think it's an unfair fight, man. I don't think it's a fair fight, man. Y'all putting ES News in something that he might not want to be in, man. Kambaya says red except Pacquiao and Spence. Who you want Crawford fight right now and why? If he wasn't fighting Pacquiao or Spence, it would for me it would be between Thurman, Porter, and you guys. And I would lean more on, I think Thurman could beat him easily. I think Porter could beat him, but it would be a tough fight. I think you guys would give him a lot of trouble. I think that you guys fight would really interest Crawford because he can get that other belt, and it would put him in a better negotiating position to fight Errol Spence Jr. So I think out of all three of those fights, he would even Terence Crawford himself would probably prefer you guys, not because you guys is better than Thurman or Porter, but because you guys would help Crawford negotiate his way into a Errol Spence Jr. fight. So I would say I think Thurman would knock him out probably. I think Porter would give him a great fight. Maybe he might edge him out on the points, and then I think you guys will give him a good fight. But I can't call the you guys fight. Erwin Sylvia. Pacquiao should get 80%. Crawford gets 15%. I get 5%. You know how much that would be? Out of $10 million, if you got 5% of $10 million, that would probably give you like, I think you would get like 1.2, somewhere like around $1.3 million off of that. So that's a heck of a percentage, man. So, but that's what I mean about the $10 million. Terence Crawford's not gonna get the whole $10 million. Bob Arum's gonna try to get a portion of that. He might get 7 six and a half. Bob Arum take like 3, 3.5, something like that. It's gonna be some weird split for Crawford and Arum. Ben Israel, EJ in the biggest draw. EJ the biggest draw today in boxing. Facts. I'm ready for any smoke. Debate that. I wouldn't say he's the biggest draw. Canelo's a way bigger draw than he is. Triple G probably draws more than he does because Triple G comes with a whole country. Fury probably draws more than he does. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Pacquiao definitely draws a bigger crowd than he does. As far as drawing a crowd, Errol Spence Jr. is probably like number 5 or number 6 if you had a top 5 on actually drawing in a crowd. He's definitely above Crawford and anybody else in the welterweight division at PBC. But as far as like, active boxers, he's definitely not the biggest draw at all. But with no argument, there's no argument. Canelo's the biggest draw in boxing. He's gonna bring you in the biggest numbers. And then you got Fury, who's probably actually second when it comes to bringing in numbers. And then you got Triple G, who brings in good numbers. You got Pacquiao, brings in great numbers. So Errol Spence is like 5 or 6 on that list somewhere. Kambaya says, Red, Pacquiao will not retire, even though he will be KO'd by Crawford, right? As long as the man can stand and his one hand can still punch, he will still box. That's how passionate he is in boxing. I think if he got knocked out by Crawford, like he did by Marquez, I wouldn't want Pacquiao to fight anymore. If he got knocked out in that fashion, I would be happy with him hanging it up. There's nothing else to prove anyway, and he's playing a dangerous game at that point. Because if he does want to be a politician, if he's getting knocked out in that fashion, it's not something you want to repeatedly have done to you. So if he fought Crawford and got knocked out like he did by Marquez, and then turned around and tried to fight Errol Spence and got knocked out again, why would you want to keep seeing that, man? I don't want, that's not something I want for Pacquiao. But on the other hand, if he fought Crawford and lost, a really close fight, by maybe a half a point or a point, some type of weird split decision, then I would say, okay, yeah, pursue another fight, try to get another fight. Maybe you can get a rematch or a fight with Spence, or maybe go after Yadanius, you guys, just to stay active at that point. But if he got knocked out, no way I would say, keep pursuing this, man. There's no point. Tony T, what's good, Tony T? First time seeing that name in here, man. Appreciate you for coming through, joining the chat. Got 27 people in here right now, man. I would appreciate it if everybody could Pacquiao the like button for me. Hook it, jab it, uppercut it. And if that's not your favorite fighter, well, Errol Spence the like button for me then. Body blow it, elbow it, headbutt it. Anything to let me know you up in here. Plus, drop me a comment so I can know who you are, man. I can shout you out a little bit and recognize your comment, man. All right, let's move on. So, Tony T says, I'll watch a Danny Garcia tune-up. A tune-up for what, though? A tune-up for what? I feel like him fighting Danny Garcia is kind of pointless. Danny Garcia just got beat by Errol Spence. I would much rather watch him fight Sean Porter or Yadanius, you guys, than Danny Garcia. Or even Mikey Garcia more than Danny Garcia. I don't think the Danny Garcia fight, that don't interest me at all. Him and Danny Garcia don't interest me at all. Fabio says, who else right now can guarantee him making that much right now? He only made $10 million with Keith. Everybody asking for a lot to face Crawford. Has to be for a reason at Ben Israel. I mean, I just don't feel like he's the reason. I mean, there's a reason that they're offering Pacquiao $40 million. I don't feel like it's simply because of Terence Crawford. It is weird that you haven't heard anything about them offering $10 million to Errol Spence. Maybe that's not enough for Spence. Maybe they did offer it to him, but it wasn't enough for Spence, and he's just being quiet about it. Because we haven't heard anything from Errol Spence. The only thing we heard Errol Spence say after he beat Danny Garcia is that he wants to fight Pacquiao, but he hasn't made an offer to Pacquiao. He hasn't come out and said anything about Pacquiao offering Terence Crawford $10 million for a fight, not him. So I'm really not sure. I can't say that it's just Crawford that's drawing in this money. I think these investors probably know something we don't know, or have seen something that we haven't seen as far as in Pacquiao, and that's the reason why they're willing to put up so much money for him to fight Terence Crawford. Look, if Pacquiao beats Crawford, this is going to generate so much money for Manny Pacquiao and the people that invested in him. It's going to be ridiculous. It's going to make, if he beats Crawford, it makes that Errol Spence fight almost on the level of the main pack fight. So those people who are investing in that $40 million, they stand to gain a lot if Pacquiao wins, a whole lot of Pacquiao wins. Now they stand to have a lot of egg on their face, $40 million worth of egg on their face if he loses. But trust me, if he wins, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, and it could possibly set up for a rematch. Now, that might be the thing about this fight that I think a lot of people are leaving out. Does Bob Arum ask for a rematch clause? Does Terence Crawford ask for a rematch clause in case they do lose? Do those investors want a rematch clause because it would generate even more money for them? So, a lot of big questions still to be answered, and I hope we get these questions answered really soon. Tony T, 2009 was the financial crisis. Very interesting, very interesting. What did he make in 2009? In 2009, in 2009, Pacquiao got $12 million for Ricky Hatton and $35 million for Miguel Cotto. So, even in a financial crisis, he still managed to make like $70 million, $60 or $70 million off of boxing. So I don't feel like what's going on in the world is affecting the people who have money. Actually, the people who have money have made 6, 7, 8 times the amount of money they normally were making before all this stuff happened. The owners of Walmart, their stock has went up tenfold. The day all this stuff hit is the day they started generating billions and billions and billions of dollars on top of what they were already making. So I don't think this whole crisis in the world is having an effect on the people who have money as much as it's having an effect on the people who don't have money in the world. So it's almost the opposite. Plus, people have to realize by the time this fight is going to be made, all of that stimulus money would have been distributed out, and people are going to have thousands upon thousands of dollars in their pocket to put into this fight. So there's going to be a lot of people ordering this fight, man, because they're gonna if this happens May 1st, all that stimulus money, a lot of that stimulus money is going to be used to buy pay-per-views, believe me. So all this is kind of playing out at the right time, man. If it happens in May, it's all kind of playing out at the right time, if you ask me. When Kazakhstan says, ideal shout out from the Philippines. Thank you. I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. Win Kazakhstan. Appreciate you, bro, for coming through, man. Appreciate that. Shouts out to you and the Philippines, man. Straight from Kentucky, boy. Louisville, Kentucky. I see why, man. Tony T, he said ES ain't about that life. All right, and I got to get to Tristan's comment, man. I'm sorry, but Tristan 805, I appreciate your super chat, man. He always comes through and bless me. He says, I remember Pac beat the he beat the bejesus out of Margarito. You know, it wasn't even funny how he did Margarito. He was obviously not playing with Margarito. What Margarito said about him being the P word in Spanish, Pacquiao, and you know what Brandon Rios ended up saying about Pacquiao and the jokes that they were making, and they tried to make Pacquiao, I guess, internalized all that and exhaled it all on to Margarito's face. So Trish 805, I appreciate your super chat, man, and your comment. I appreciate you for coming through. It always supports the channel, man. Ever since I've been doing these, returned to doing these live streams, man, and it's incredible when I get people to actually donate to the channel, because y'all really don't have to do that, man. You know, I'm gonna deliver this news whether I make money off of it or not. You know, so I appreciate you, Trish 805, for coming through, man, and dropping that on me. Trish 805 says, nice breakdown of all his old fights, man. I appreciate that, man. I found that article. I can't take the credit for making the breakdown or anything, but I found that article and I wanted to share that with everybody, because I feel like that's really relevant to what's going on as far as Pacquiao wanting that type of money. You know, it's not out of the ordinary for him to want that type of money. He should be making that type of money anyway. You know, there should be no question of the matter. You know, he is one of the greatest fighters ever in history. You know, he was already making that type of money. Eventually, you know, one of those guys, Errol Spence or Terence Crawford, if they both don't fight Pacquiao, you know, or one fights him and loses to him or beats him, and then both of them might eventually start to make that type of money. But if one loses to him, but loses, you know, with some dignity, gives him a good fight, maybe gets a rematch and maybe beats him in the second fight, you're going to see those guys eventually start to make that type of money. But, you know, the reason Pacquiao commands this dollar amount, now, you know, this is legacy to me. This is what I mean about legacy. And him not picking and choosing his fights, fighting whoever. In 2006, he fought 3 times. He fought Morales, Lororis, and Morales. You know, Morales is an awesome name in the sport of boxing. You know, he didn't duck him. He took the money he could get for those fights, which was $2 million and $3 million. You know, he didn't make a huge amount, and he was fighting a huge star at that time, who was Morales. I'm pretty sure Morales was making $10 million, $15 million for fighting Pacquiao, and Pacquiao was getting the lower purse, you know, but Pacquiao was on the come up. He did that for his legacy. He fought Morales the first time for $2 million for his legacy. You know, that fight made him the name that he is because he had such a great fight with Morales. And then he came back for the rematch, beat Morales, and made more money. It was $3 million. Morales still got the A side in the rematch, but he beat Morales, and he made a lot more money. And then, you know, he started to move up. He still was taking, you know, he still made only $2 million for some good fights in 2007 for fighting Marco Antonio Barrera. He only got $2 million. But it was for his legacy. He was building a legacy. So instead of focusing on the money, and this is really why I brought this up, instead of focusing on the money, he was focusing on the legacy and beating the biggest names in boxing of that time, which were Morales, Barrera, De La Hoya, Hatton, and you know, Cotto. But in that era, from 2006 to 2009, he fought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 legends. He fought one of them twice, but he fought 5 legendary names in boxing. You know, Morales, Barrera, De La Hoya, and Hatton. And he only got, you'll see, 2, 5, 6, 7. He only made about $36 million for those 5 fights. Okay, so he didn't do that for the money. He wasn't doing that so he can get rich. He did that so he would be a legendary name in boxing. And then once he started cementing his name as a legend in boxing, then you saw in 2009 and 2010 him starting to make ridiculous amounts of money. When he fought Cotto and made $35 million. When he fought Margarito and made $35 million. When he fought Mosley and made $20 million. You know, these guys today, they're not making the money and selling the pay-per-views that Pacquiao is able to sell and make, because they're not doing things for their legacy. They're chasing the dollar signs and not the legacy. Boxing fans, real boxing fans are more into your legacy and not how much you made in your career. Because let's be honest, most of us don't even know how much most of these guys have made their entire career. And they've never shared a dollar with any of us, so why should you even care how much they made in their entire career? It should be who these guys have beat. What legendary names have they beat? In what fashion did they beat them? When did they fight them? How many times did they fight them? Those should be the important things. It shouldn't be where I'm only getting $10 million for this fight. I want to be the A side. Or he's only giving me a 60-40 split. I should have a 50. Who cares about the split? If you're better than him, go in there and prove it, and people are going to buy your next fight because you are the best guy out there. They're not going to buy your best fight because you got paid $6 million to go in there and just hug a guy for 12 rounds. Who wants to watch that type of crap? To be completely honest with you, so I feel like Pacquiao is commanding this money, getting this money. He's so famous, he's so legendary because he laid the groundwork. You know, he did the hard part in the beginning, and he's reaping the rewards in the ending. So he deserves to make 30, 40, $50 million. Look at the names this man fought just in 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2009. And look what he made for those fights. But look what he gained from winning those fights. You know, it shouldn't be about the money. It should be about the legacy. The legacy is going to bring you the money. Pacquiao did it the right way, so I feel like he deserves to make $40 million, even in 2021, even with all this Verona stuff going on. My personal opinion, that's how I feel, man. You can agree, you can disagree with it. When Kazakhstan says, thank you, Ideal. No problem, Win, bro. I appreciate that. If you got a channel, man, let me know. Holler at me in the community section. Check me out on WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you can find me, man. I might be able to get you on a live stream. I'll put you in a video, man, and we can share communities, bro. I have no problem with sharing my community with anybody, man, who want to work. AYA says it's just a starting off for negotiations. If you know Bob will negotiate it down, will you put in your actual number? Don't think so. Just my 2 cents. I believe that's true. I don't see why Bob would negotiate it down, because Bob's not putting up the $40 million. Bob, from what I believe, I don't even know if he has to put up the $10 million for Crawford. But from what I understand, the investor group is putting up Pacquiao's 40. So that would lead me to believe that they want Bob Arum to put up the 10 for Crawford. Don't quote me on that. They might have the $50 million already, and they'll just pay Crawford and Bob out of that $10 million, out of the gate, and what's generated off the fight to get them their $10 million. But I'm not sure about that 100%. I'm only sure that they said the investor group, Angle Group or Angel Group or whatever it's called, has Manny Pacquiao's portion of the money already. AYA. I'm not sure about Crawford's portion of the money. The $10 million, I'm not sure where that's coming from. But in my mind, they must already have the full 50, because why offer him $10 million if you're expecting Bob Arum to put up the $10 million? That's the only part I don't get is how this is actually working. Are they putting up 50 and then Bob Arum and Terence Crawford recruit off the gate and the pay-per-views, or are they putting up 40 and Bob Arum has to put up 10 for Crawford? I'm not sure how that portion of it works yet. So that's the only thing I'm confused about at this moment. Let me know what y'all think so far. We got 30 people in here right now, man. If you could please take a little time out and Manny Pacquiao that like button for me. Hook it, jab it, uppercut it. You know, whatever you got to do. If you're a Spence Jr. fan, well, body blow it there. You know, head butt it, elbow it. If you're a Terence Crawford fan, you can run away from it. I'm just playing. Just you know, hit it. Let me know you hear her. Drop me a comment so I can know who you are and shout you out, man. And appreciate you for coming through. Now, as far as you know, moving forward, where do we go from here? You know, how long is it gonna take for everybody to agree and everything's signed and we starting to get training and sparring sessions and all this? I think that all is up to Bob Arum at this point. I think Bob Arum just has to come out and say, hey, okay, these terms are something I can agree with. These terms are not, you know, anything out of the normal. This is a super fight. You know, hopefully he likes whatever venue they've picked out, whatever country they decide to have it in. That those details haven't been released yet. Only thing we know, Pacquiao offered the 40-10 split. You know, Crawford said, you know, okay, you know, I can agree with that. Bob Arum said that they're negotiating. So that's where we stand right now. Hopefully we're going to be getting a lot more news here really, really soon. You know, I just dropped some, if you want to, you can go back and watch the replay. And because I just dropped some things on you guys about why Pacquiao is commanding so much money for this fight. You know, and the fact that he is a legendary fighter, he deserves this type of money. So if you feel like the amount of money he's asking for is astronomical, just rewind the stream and go to the part where I talked about what Manny Pacquiao has been making historically over his career, and you should be able to understand for yourself why he's asking for this type of money. That's my personal opinion. All right, man. So let me. There's some other articles out right now. As far as Pacquiao, who he might fight, but there is no official news yet. But there's another article I wanted to touch on, man. That where they were talking about Pacquiao and Errol Spence Jr. potential fight. All right, a different Manny Pacquiao will obliterate Errol Spence Jr. with American not same guy after a horror crash, says Filipinos coach. So we all know who Manny Pacquiao's coach is. That is Coach Freddie Roach, the one and only, the most hated by Teddy Atlas. Alright, so let's see what y'all saying in the chat. I'm going to get into this article in just a second. Kabaya says, I think fighters asking too much money even though they don't deserve it, because it is the footprints of great fights that deserve that money, like the fights of Pacquiao, Floyd, New Generation. I'm not sure what that says right there. But I agree with you, man. You know, a lot of these guys don't deserve, you know, that type of money. They haven't got there in their career. But they got to show and prove. You know, Manny Pacquiao, he showed and proved his entire career. You know, like I said, he fought 3 times just in 2006, and 2 of those times were versus Eric Morales, a legendary name within the sport. So, you know, until those guys can step up and start doing that, to where that, you know, the Ryan Garcias of the world are fighting the Gervonta Davises of the world 2 times in a year, or, you know, at least once in another fight, then these guys can't say that they deserve 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 million dollars for a fight, because they simply don't. You know, they haven't hit that point in their career yet. Will they get there? Some of them will, some of them won't. You know, I think Errol Spence does have the potential to hit that point of making some of the astronomical numbers that Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather have been making over their career. And let's not forget, these are not the only guys who were making this type of money. Canelo's demanding a really high number for his fights. Cotto was getting really good money for his fights, $20-30 million a fight. Margarito was making $15-20 million a fight. At one point, Oscar De La Hoya was one of the highest paid boxers in the sport. So this is nothing new to the sport of boxing for people to be asking for really high numbers for fights. Especially legendary fighters. This should not be a surprise to anybody. I think because of the Verona stuff going on in the world, people they feel like that this is just too much to be asking for. I don't think it's too much to be asking for, because then it's not up to Bob Arum to put the money up. It's not up to Al Heyman to put the money up. You have investors willing to put the money up. So the only thing stopping this is people's willingness to make the fight or willingness to lose the fight. So it's more about legacy at this point. And I think that's why Pacquiao led with those words when he came out 2 weeks ago and said, I'm announcing my next fight, and I'm doing this for my legacy. These are legacy building fights. Exactly what he said. A Terence Crawford fight, win or lose for him, is a legacy defining fight. And if Terence Crawford wins, it is a seriously legacy defining fight. This would be the biggest win of his career against one of the biggest opponents he could ever go against, and the biggest payday of his career. It would make him uber famous. It's not only for Pacquiao's legacy, it's for Crawford's legacy as well, because if he wins, it does astronomical things for his name and his career. If Pacquiao wins, it does astronomical things for his name and his career, on top of the endless list of things that Pacquiao's already done in his career. So I don't feel like what he's demanding is anything out of the ordinary. So back to this article. A different Manny Pacquiao will obliterate Errol Spence Jr. with American not same guy after horror crash, says Filipinos coach. Manny Pacquiao has been backed by one of his coaches to obliterate Errol Spence Jr. amid claims he's not the same guy after his car crash. Amazingly, the WBC and IBF welterweight champ returned to the ring in December, beating Danny Garcia on points over 12 rounds. Afterwards, he called out Pacquiao, but the Filipino icon's strength and conditioning trainer, Justin Fortune, thinks it was ill-advised. Fortune told Sun Sports, Spence is a great fighter and a good champion, but he's not the same guy that he was before, not at all. We saw that when he fought Danny Garcia. Everyone raves about how hard Spence punches. Well, Danny Garcia came through 12 rounds. Danny Garcia also never pulled the trigger that night, or else Danny would probably have beaten him, I think. And a lot of people have been saying that Danny Garcia was holding back, and they felt like Danny Garcia should have been swinging for the fences a lot more, because he packed such a big punch. And they feel, even his father said that he felt like Danny threw the fight. So I would agree with some of what Justin Fortune is saying there, that he didn't look the same. I haven't watched a ton of Spence fights, but I've watched enough to notice that there was a big difference in his in the way he was moving. He's never been a quick guy, but he really has sluggish feet. I was the first one, I feel like, to put out a video about that. I said that Spence has slow feet. I got chewed up in the comments for putting out that video. But, it wasn't long after that Manny Pacquiao came out and said that he felt like Spence had lost a step, that he feels like his feet are slow, and he felt like that he would beat him because of his speed. And I just feel the exact same way. I feel like Pacquiao's speed is a whole another dimension than Errol Spence's speed, and I think it would really give this new version of Spence a lot of trouble. You put Spence in there with someone like Pacquiao now, Pacquiao obliterates him even at 42 years of age. He's still the number one guy, and has been the champion for the last 18 years. That in itself is a phenomenal effing feat as an athlete in sports. Spence, 30, was hospitalized and suffered swelling and bruises to his face, but escaped an lasting injury as a result of the near miss. Alright, he was hit with a DUI, driving while intoxicated, and claimed the accident gave him a new lease on life to focus only on his boxing career after a near flawless victory over Garcia 32 on the cards, where he kept his unified crown. Spence set his sights on Pac-Man and Terence Crawford, but Fortune, an ex-heavyweight contender who lost to Lennox Lewis in 1995, is admitted that the 27-0 looked a shadow of himself, and he advises the unbeaten American to ease his way back into the big time. His car crash ordeal will soon catch up on him physically. Fortune said you'd want to give Spence 2 or 3 fights to get his ish back together. That's for sure. Manny's too fast and too strong. He uses too many angles. We don't know how Spence will pull through his comeback fight. We don't know how Spence will pull through. His comeback fight with Dan Garcia wasn't impressive at all. I'm so glad he survived the crash, but that does a lot of damage to your head and body. He came out of a Lamborghini or whatever it was at 120 miles per hour. I didn't even know he was going that fast. Wow. Wow, that's the fact that he survived is miraculous. I didn't know he was going that fast. 120 miles per hour. Thank God he's not dead, but the legitimate damage, hand damage, the ligament damage, hand damage, it's long term. It doesn't go away overnight. Pacquiao is yet to return since he beat Keith Thurman for the WBA title in 2019. Got stripped, unfortunately. His inactivity saw him stripped of the WBA belt, with Cuban Jordan's you guys elevated. Pacquiao is targeting a comeback fight for April or May before a swift turnaround to fight again in September. New news. So there, we just dropped a new nugget for you. Pacquiao is planning to fight in April or May before a swift turnaround to fight again in September against Spence. Basically is what he's saying. Now, I've talked about this before. He is fighting in May, either at the beginning or the middle of May, and then he's going to be fighting again sometime in September or right at the end of 2021. I've been saying this for weeks. Whether people believe me or not, hey, it is what it is. But now you have it confirmed by Manny Pacquiao strength and conditioning coach Justin Fortune that he's planning to fight twice this year. And when they put it that way, he's not looking to just fight Terence Crawford. He's looking to walk through Terence Crawford. I don't know what these guys know behind the scenes or who Pacquiao's been sparring behind the scenes, but all these people behind Pacquiao seem way too confident in this fight. And it's almost starting to scare me, the confidence level of these people. Because something obviously is going on behind the scene. They've either saw something from Pacquiao, he's knocked somebody the F out in sparring, or they just really have confidence in Pacquiao even at 42 years of age. Because for them to be putting up $40 million for him to fight Crawford, and then for them to say he's going to walk through Spence, and that, Spence basically don't have a chance. And this ain't coming from me, and that he's basically planning on fighting Crawford and then turning around and fighting Spence in less than 6 months. That should let you know there's something else going on behind the scenes here. They know something we definitely don't know. To me, I think Pacquiao has knocked somebody the F out in sparring, and it's probably a notable name that he knocked out in sparring over in the Philippines. They probably haven't mentioned this yet, but Just they all just seem way too confident in the fact that he's going to beat Crawford and he's going to turn right back around and fight Spence, which I've been saying this whole time. I've said he's going to fight in May, then he's going to turn around and fight again in September. But that was me saying that based off him having either a tune-up fight or a fight with Jordania's you guys. I never expected him to actually jump in and fight Crawford and then turn around and fight Errol Spence Jr. So this actually article kind of surprised me here because I wasn't expecting to get that little nugget at the end. But it's actually confirming what I've been thinking this whole time. He's going for two legacy fights, two legendary fights, one being Crawford, the other one being Spence. He is extremely confident he's going to win both of these fights, or at least one of these fights. And he's planning on doing this all this year. So, very interesting here. You know, I got dropped a little nugget there myself. That's kind of surprising me. But, hey, I'm 100% confident in Pacquiao. If they feel like he can pull it off, I feel like he can pull it off. If they already got something set up and ready to go, hey, I'm ready to watch both of these fights. Hey, win or lose, man. I'm the most hyped up I've ever been about the sport of boxing right now. And it's all thanks to these talks, man. This could really revive the sport of boxing. and the way they're talking, they talking like they don't care if he loses to Terence Crawford. If he loses to Terence Crawford, they talking like he's just gonna turn around and go fight Errol Spence Jr. And anyway, like he wants a shot at both of these guys. Basically, is what I'm taking away from what Justin Fortune said. So win or lose, he's gonna fight Crawford and then go fight Errol Spence Jr. is what I'm taking away from this article. Whether that's what he meant to put out there, I don't know, but that's what he said basically. If you don't believe me, the article is, let me go back so y'all go. This is the Sun News. The Sun, I don't know if y'all can see that, but this article comes from the Sun News. It got dropped about 6 hours ago. It came from the Sun News. The article is called "A Different Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao will obliterate Errol Spence Jr. Spence Jr. with American not same guy after horror crash," says Filipinos coach. So don't take it as me saying this. This is what Justin Fortune just said. So he knows a lot more about what's going on with Manny Pacquiao than I do. But I'm glad I decided to read this article because that is very interesting news. It should be that tidbit right there should really spark the interest of Pacquiao fans, because basically what I'm reading and what I feel like he's saying is, win or lose, he's fighting both of these guys. It's already kind of set in stone. This is, to me, I guess this is the way he's going to leave the sport. He wants to fight both of those guys for his legacy, win or lose versus both of them. What I'm taking away from that is extremely interesting right there. Let me know if y'all think and y'all feel the same way about what I just read. Because that's basically how I'll read it again. Pacquiao is targeting a comeback for April or May before a swift turnaround to fight again in September. And this is coming from his strength and conditioning coach, the Sun News, and Justin Fortune. They just did an article with Justin Fortune that came out a couple hours ago, and this is basically what they're saying. So, hey, a lot of news coming out today, man. I'm glad I decided to read this article. Let me finish it off. It would allow him to make a run in 2020 for the Philippines presidential election, which concludes in May next year. So I'm guessing he plans on getting both of these fights out of the way. That way he can just go and basically focus. And the way they're making it seem, the way he just worded that, it's like he wants to do both of these fights this year, finish the election next year, and they're kind of leaving the door open for him making a return in 2023. This is all interesting the way that they're talking. Let me finish this article. Manny Pacquiao with coaches Freddie Roach, left Justin Fortune, middle Boo Boy Fernandez. I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but this has to be recent, very recent. And Pacquiao actually looks really good in this picture, man. He don't look old at all, man. Okay, let me finish this article. UFC superstar Conor McGregor, 32, was in line to face Pac-Man after his return to the octagon, but following Dustin Poirier's shocking KO win at UFC 257 in January, the Irishman is instead focusing on the immediate rematch. Talks then moved to 22-year-old lightweight sensation Ryan Garcia, but Fortune, who owns his own gym in California, revealed the discussions were short-lived. So all y'all believing that Pacquiao is still going to fight Ryan Garcia, that fight's over with, man. It's not going to happen. Oscar De La Hoya shut it down. He doesn't want to risk Ryan Garcia, and neither do any of the other backers behind Ryan Garcia. I'm telling y'all, something else is going on behind the scenes. Somebody has seen Manny Pacquiao in sparring. Manny Pacquiao must look phenomenal to have all of these people so worried about putting their fighters in there to fight him, and for his coaches to be so overly confident in him having 2 fights this year with 2 of the biggest names in the welterweight division. It's completely this article right here is probably the most revealing one I found today. I'm glad I decided to hold off and share this at the end. He said it came up fast and left just as fast. Nothing on Ryan Garcia, but this is Pacquiao, and Ryan Garcia had a handful of fights. Pacquiao obliterates the guy. It took some balls for Ryan Garcia to say, yeah, I'll fight him. Losing to Manny Pacquiao is no cross on your career either. Which is true. You know, if he fought Pacquiao now and lost to him, it wouldn't completely ruin his career, but it would definitely put a weird check mark on it. You know, something similar to what Canelo Alvarez had when he fought Floyd Mayweather. The only difference is Alvarez was able to rebuild and come back even better. Is Alvarez on tainted beef? He might be. He might be. In Gucci Man voice, he might be. I don't know the truth. He did test positive for something. Does that affect his skill level and the fact that he's able to do amazing things in the boxing ring? Only thing that really affects is maybe his reflexes a little bit and his power. But I don't think I don't think it's why his technique is so flawless. His technique is very flawless, but the fact that he was on tainted beef might be why he is one of the top tier fighters right now. Moving on. I think that was it. That was it. They don't got no more nuggets in there, so that was it. So according to Justin Fortune, I would say this fight's a go, man. I would say that Pacquiao versus Crawford's a go. They're just working out the finer details. According to Fortune, Pacquiao is not fighting Ryan Garcia or any other Garcia, whether that's Taco Garcia, Nacho Garcia, or Ryan the Kool-Aid Garcia. He's not fighting any other Garcias. Errol Spence and Terence Crawford are the only names on Manny Pacquiao's plate at this point. Whether Spence goes ahead and fights you guys and tries to get that other belt, so when he fights potentially Pacquiao or Crawford in September, it might be Pacquiao win or lose from what I'm hearing out of this article. It could potentially be a unification fight for all the belts. So, like Al Heyman said a few weeks back in that article I read to you guys, they're putting something together huge surrounding Pacquiao's name as a headliner. The same that I said, well, as far as I read a few months back, that Pacquiao planned to fight twice in 2021, and that those fights were most likely happening in May and September. Like I said, that those fights are most likely going to be with Spence Jr. and Terence Bud Crawford. He's just backing up most of what I've read. I'm not saying that I predicted all this. I just stuff I've been reading. I'm glad I decided to read all those articles. It lets you know. It lets me know that reading it unlocks a whole nother world. So if you're into boxing and you're just going off of what these guys on YouTube are saying, and they're not giving you no official stuff that's coming from somebody from another source that's been officially verified, it's nothing you can believe. Like I said earlier, nobody has officially come out and said that Terence Crawford accepted this, except for what I saw from other YouTube commentators. But I decided to go cross-reference it versus actual news sources and boxing sources outside of YouTube, and everything that I'm hearing is exactly what I believe to be true. So, hey, it's looking like a humongous year for Pacquiao. I'm hoping he wins, both of these fights. I'm hoping that both of these fights actually do get made. For what Justin Fortune saying it's pretty much already a signed, done deal that both of these fights are happening. He is extremely confident that Pacquiao is going to walk through both of these guys. Maybe not walk, those are not his exact words, but he feels like Pacquiao is just too much for both of these guys in his mind. Well, he didn't mention Terence Crawford, but if you're willing to say that Pacquiao is too much for Errol Spence Jr., you might as well say he's too much for Terence Crawford too. And if Crawford is the first fight, it's Crawford's in for a doozy, if you ask me. He's in for Crawford's in for something here, man, here really soon, and it might not be good for his career. Let me see what y'all talking about down here in the chat. We just got off into a whole nother conversation. I wasn't expecting that article to be so information packed, but it was obviously a very good article. So this is, like I said, this is why I decided to read articles and reference articles instead of just trying to go off of what people say sometimes, because you get better sources of information that way. Kabari says, I think fighting Spence too. Okay, I got that one already. Says, Kabari, good way to go right now, Red. Good to know the fight could either go to Spence or Crawford. Either fight for Pac is good for boxing. It's awesome for boxing, man. I think either one of those fights, even if it's Spence. And I mean, based on what Justin Fortune is saying, it's already set as Crawford being the first and Spence being the second. It's not a matter of maybe or if. It's pretty much a go, and I think the simple fact that they offered that type of money to Terence Crawford should let you know that whoever's investing in this has already put the money up. They've already got this stuff set in stone. They're just ready, waiting to hear back from the other side as far as confirming this stuff. And maybe they have a set date already to where they want to drop this news because it makes it more interesting. Maybe they have some type of event set up to where they're going to drop this news. This is all great if you're a boxing fan, man. This should really make you happy if you're a boxing fan. Brian Santos, Bud shouldn't need Bob for this and accept the offer. From what I heard, he already has Brian Santos. I appreciate your comment. He's already said he's down for the $10 million. That's basically the news that dropped today, is that Bud, through some sources on YouTube, some reliable sources that people say are very reliable on YouTube, Terence Crawford has agreed to the $10 million portion of the fight. So what I'm doing right now is trying to cross-reference everything that's been said with articles and verified news sources, just to let me know and you guys know a little bit more about what's actually going on. And based off what I just read from Justin Fortune and the Sun News, this thing's a go, man. It's already a go. There's no question about it. At least Pacquiao, what we know, Pacquiao is planning on fighting in May, and is planning on turning around and fighting again in September. Based on Justin Fortune's interview, if you were here about 5 minutes ago, you heard everything I said. So If not, you can just rewind the stream and go back to that part about 5 minutes ago. Jam grammar, but not accept. No, I haven't heard anything officially from yet. Haven't heard anything officially from Crawford yet. I'm only going off of what the sources on YouTube are saying. And now what Justin Fortune, Manny Pacquiao strength and conditioning coach, just told the Sun News about 7 or 8 hours ago. So this is all what Justin Fortune is saying is all brand new news. Nobody else I've heard reporting on what Justin Fortune has just said. So James Anderson, I believe you. I appreciate that, bro. Tristan 805, LOL. I don't know. Teddy Atlas didn't like Freddie Roach. Yeah, man, them guys really don't get along, man. I don't know why Teddy Atlas is so soft. I think I know why Teddy Atlas don't like Roach, but Roach is a likable guy, so it's kind of weird that Teddy Atlas is a little salty toward Freddie Roach. Hey, man, we got 66 people in the chat right now. I appreciate everybody for coming through. Well, we just lost a few people, but we got 58 people in the chat right now. I appreciate all of y'all for coming through and sharing your time with me, man. If you're new into the chat, could you take a minute out, please? Pacquiao the like button for me. Hook it, jab it, uppercut it, whatever you got to do to let me know you're in here. Helps the algorithm share the content out to more Pacquiao fans. If you're a Spence Jr. fan, well, just, body blow it, elbow it, headbutt it, whatever you got to do. If you're a Crawford fan, you can turn around and run from it. I'm just playing, man. I ain't no hate toward Terence Crawford. I hope we get to see this fight, man. But if you're a Crawford fan, man, hook it, jab it, and all that stuff too, man. We accept everybody over here. Just let me know you're in here. Drop me a comment, man, so I can acknowledge you in the chat. And thank you for coming through. All right, Mikey Murray. I appreciate you for coming through, Mikey Murray. What's cracking? Bud will beat the ish out of Pac-Man. Hopefully we're gonna get the opportunity to find this out, man. From everything I've been hearing today, everything I just read, this fight to me is a go, man. I would say it's a go. It's not 100% official yet, but based on what I'm hearing about the money, the investors, Crawford's cool with his portion. Justin Fortune has just dropped some jewels on us. You can go read it for yourself. This fight's a go, man, and I just can't wait to see it. If Pacquiao wins, if he loses, I just want to see it happen, man. So, if he wins, if he loses, I don't care, man. I just want to see it happen. I think it's great for the sport. Kabaya says, can you talk about the mental state of these three fighters, Red? In what aspect? You mean as far as the money, what they might be going through if they lose? What aspect about their mental state? Brian Santos, for boxing, Manny should only be thinking of Bud and Spence. They deserve a payday. And I think that's why he came out and said this is for legacy. It's for everybody's legacy involved. If he beats Errol Spence, if he beats Terence Crawford, I think it does a little damage to their career, but I think people will respect them more for giving Pacquiao the chance and for going in there and getting beat by the best that's out there. I think the same goes for both of those guys if they would have fought each other. If those guys would have fought each other, they would have already had a lot more respect in the sport of boxing. I give Errol Spence more respect than I do Terence Crawford, only because Errol Spence, his resume is better than Crawford's. Crawford doesn't have a great welterweight resume, so I can never give him the level of respect that I give Errol Spence. Neither one of those guys have the resume Pacquiao has. Never will. Nobody's ever going to top what Pacquiao's done in the sport. And nobody's ever going to get to the level of resume and the amount of champions and former champions that he's fought. So I don't expect those guys to ever have to achieve that type of accolade. But I feel like if they fight each other or they fight Pacquiao, it gives both of those guys a lot more credibility within the sport. So I salute both of those guys for taking on this opportunity, man. It's really gonna do good for the sport of boxing, win or lose for all three guys involved. So let's just hope all this stuff actually does get made, man. Carlos Molina says, I appreciate you for coming through, Carlos, man. Appreciate your comment. They deserve a payday. They're getting what they deserve. Dudes should be fighting each other for real. Hey, man, real talk, man. There's no need for these guys to be ducking each other, man, and trying to emulate Floyd Mayweather, thinking that that's going to make them more popular with fans. What people have to realize is that Mayweather was already an extremely popular fighter before he took on the Money Mayweather persona. he was Pretty Boy Floyd for a long time before he had made that Money Mayweather persona. So it's not like he took on the persona and became instantly famous with that persona. He was already famous. Some of the fans who liked him when he was Pretty Boy carried over into Money Mayweather, and Money Mayweather gained a big following. I was a Pretty Boy Floyd fan, but when he switched over into Money Mayweather and changed up the way he fought, I stopped being a Mayweather fan at that point. I moved on to fighters like Morales and Barrera, whose styles I liked more at the time. And then Pacquiao came along and completely destroyed both my idols in boxing. And then I became a Pacquiao fan, because how can you go against the guy who basically destroyed both of the guys you held at the highest respect in the sport? So I couldn't not recognize Pacquiao as being the best guy out there when he went and beat who I believed were the best two fighters in front of him at the time. So I would do the same thing for Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. if they were to do Manny Pacquiao in the way that he was able to do Morales and Barrera. I would still love Manny Pacquiao as my favorite fighter, but I would then say, okay, these two guys deserve all of this praise and all of this pound for pound talk. And even if they just fought each other and were able to give you some great fights from fighting each other, but definitely if they were able to fight Pacquiao and do the impossible, and take Pacquiao down, I would definitely say then, especially Terence Crawford, he deserves the pound for pound talk. Errol Spence deserves to be where he's at, And like I said before, in the lesser extent, am I saying this about Spence, because Spence's resume is a little better than Crawford is, but neither one of those guys' resume is out of this world. So I'm not giving those guys a lot of credit, because their resume is just not like out of this world. But if you had to compare resumes and you had to put Crawford's versus Spence, there's no way in the world that you could say Terence Crawford's welterweight resume is better than Errol Spence, or Terence Crawford deserves to be ranked higher than Errol Spence. It just, you have to be a blind fan or just not know anything about boxing at that point, for lack of a better word. So let me move on. Brian Santos, if Manny beat both Bud and Spence, you guys need to mention Manny with the great like Jordan, Brady, etc. He's already up there with those guys. See, that's the thing that people have to understand, and Pacquiao fans too, man. You don't have to argue Manny Pacquiao's greatness or his spot on the great list. He's already there. If he was to retire today, and there was a Mount Rushmore of boxing, you're going to see Pacquiao's face. You're going to see Ali's face. You're going to see Marciano's face. You're probably going to see Floyd's face. But he's already going to be etched in stone. He's already etched in stone as one of the greatest fighters in the history of the sport. Like I said, if there's a Mount Rushmore of boxing, and I think there would be more than just 5 or 6 faces on that Mount Rushmore. That deserves to be about 10 faces on that Mount Rushmore of boxing. But Manny Pacquiao's face is going to be one of those 10, no doubt about it. And Manny Pacquiao, if you put all the greatest athletes in one room from all sports, from basketball to football to baseball to boxing to MMA. You put Jordan and Brady and Ken Griffey Jr. and those type of guys all in the same room. Tiger Woods, Pacquiao's going to be in that room. He's going to be in that room. So as a fan of Manny Pacquiao, you don't even have to argue that point. There's no need to argue that point. He's already amongst the greats. He's already up there with the Alis. My only argument is when it comes to people saying that he's greater than Ali, and I will argue that he's right next to Ali. The only reason I would never say that either one of those guys are greater than the other is because what defines Ali's greatness to me has very little to do with what he did in the boxing ring and a lot more with what he did outside of the boxing ring. And the same goes for Manny Pacquiao. So I would never diminish what Pacquiao's done for people outside of the boxing ring. I'm not going to diminish what Ali's done outside of the boxing ring and put one of those guys above each other. They've equally done great things for people who look like them. And not to turn this into some race argument, because it's not. Because he what Ali did benefited all people. What Pacquiao is doing for his people eventually will benefit all people in the world. So I'm not going to diminish what neither one of these people have done as far as outside of the ring. You can argue what they've done inside of the ring, but I think their placement on the Mount Rushmore of athletes and in the history of athletics has very little, unfortunately, to do with what they've done within the sport. And it has a lot to do with what they've done outside the sport as far as greatness goes to me. That's what makes them great. It's deeper than just sports. Michael Jordan's not just the greatest basketball player ever, but Michael Jordan has sold the most tennis shoes out of any other athlete. So he's not just conquered basketball; he conquered business as well. So he didn't just do one thing. Tom Brady, he's one of the greatest football players in the world. I can't explain to you what else he's done outside of football to make him great as far as a human being, other than just being a nice person. But he still deserves to be mentioned amongst great athletes for what he's done in the sport of football. And I could go on and on. Even guys like Tiger Woods, he's done great things in the sport of golf. But I can't mention as far as making Nike one of the highest grossing brands. I say he did that within the business world outside of boxing. So Pacquiao's greatness spans farther than just what he did in the ring. Ali's greatness spans farther than just what he did in the ring. So I'm never going to say Pacquiao's above Ali. I'm never going to say Ali is above Pacquiao. Those guys deserve to be right next to each other because of what they did inside and outside of the ring. Agree with me? Don't agree with me? That's my opinion on that, man. Mike Murray, Bud will knock Pac-Man smooth out. Listen. It's very possible. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not possible. I'm not going to say that it's not going to happen. I will say I commend Pacquiao for being 42 years of age and still being willing to fight anybody. Because you can't flip that screen around to Terence Crawford or Errol Spence Jr. and say that same thing. These guys are not willing to fight anybody. Because if they were, they would have fought each other already. There would have been no question about it. If you watched the stream earlier and you saw all the names I named off and all the money that Pacquiao made and the fights that he took at a loss, basically, just to become great. Until those guys can start doing that, taking fights at a loss, but making great fights to become great, hey, I could care less about anything else said, man. These guys, they don't compare to Manny Pacquiao's legacy. Will they compare one day? They have the opportunity to, but until they start showing and proving, who really cares at this point? Bobby Rick, what's good, Bobby Rick? Will we see if we will see if Bud can handle the pressure? In my opinion, Bud hasn't had the spotlight on him like that, and the magnitude of this fight is huge. When the bright lights come on, will he perform? Very interesting question. I think the first thing you should look for in this fight is how Terence Crawford takes Pacquiao's power. When Pacquiao lands that first solid punch, because we saw in the Keith Thurman fight, and when Pacquiao landed that first solid punch, Keith Thurman couldn't take Pacquiao's power. So when Pacquiao lands, and this is the same thing that Bob Arum said, when Pacquiao lands a shot, what does Crawford do? Does Crawford fold up and go down like Thurman did, or do we see him eat that shot and come back with something? So I think that's the first thing I'm going to be looking for in that fight. How does he react when Pacquiao does land that kaboom shot like he landed on Keith Thurman? That's going to be my first thing that I'm looking for when this fight cracks off. Because I'm not going to say if anymore. I think it's a matter of when this fight actually jumps off. Francis Karat says, "Let's see. I can't wait, brother. I hope it's going down, man. I hope it's going down. I thought I caught up in the chat, and I just played myself." There's way more comments to go, so I'm gonna try to get through all these comments. We've been on here for 2 hours, man. I appreciate everybody for coming through. We got about 70 people in the chat right now, man. I would appreciate it if you're new to the chat, if you could please take time out to Pacquiao the like button. If you're a Spence fan, well, then Spence the like button. If you're a Crawford fan, well, Crawford that like button for me. Hook it, jab it, uppercut it. If you're a Tyson Fury fan, well, you can stick something in your glove and knock it out with anything. Just let me know y'all in here, man, and then drop me a comment so I can shout your name out before I finally get out of here. But I appreciate that for everybody who's new into the chat, man. It just lets the algorithm share this out to more people, and it lets me know that y'all in here, man, and we can all have fun and a good chat together. Let's see. Helen Holly. Bud and Spence should fight each other, and Manny should retire. He's already proved his greatness. He has broken numerous records and achieved many accolades. My only question to that is, if you still got it, why not keep going? If you feel like you have 2 more left, and you're gonna call it quits, why not go ahead and get those 2 fights out of the way? Win or lose, and with what Justin Fortune just said, I think it's a win or lose situation now for Pacquiao. I don't think he cares. I think he's going in to win. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he cares whether he wins or loses these 2 fights. I think it's almost, I hate to use this word, it's deeper. It's a little bit deeper than that to him. I think like he said, this is more for his legacy. And just to go out with a bang, to give to try to give something back to the fans. We as fans made Manny Pacquiao famous. We as fans have paid Manny Pacquiao's bills for nearly 30 years. We as fans are going to make Manny Pacquiao even more rich. And I feel like, Pacquiao's such a nice and giving person. And in his mind, this is his way to give back to fans. If I can give fans something to hang their hat on in the sport of boxing, and something to say, boxing still is a great sport, and give them some great fights to watch. I think that's his way of giving back to the sport. My opinion, hey, like it or not, it's my opinion. I think that's, he's really trying to give something back, as well as gain something financially, because he's definitely going to get paid for these 2 fights. Bobby Rick, Manny has achieved everything and anything and everything you can in boxing, LOL, literally. Exactly, man. So I think it's a little bit deeper than even belts and money at this point for Pacquiao. I think he wants to really just push himself to the furthest limits for these last few fights. Carlos Molina at Helen Holly, correct. I mean, what you're saying is true. Mr. BR3 says, boxing, picture money. Shout out. I appreciate you, BR3, man, for coming through, man. He's always up in here, man. He always supports the chat, man, and the live streams. So I appreciate you for coming through. Born Lucky, liked. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate that. Brian Santos says LOL. BR3, Victor Ortiz, the like button. You know what I'm saying? Exactly, man. Victor Ortiz, man. Knock it straight out, man. Brian Santos, I really think Manny and Freddie will be prepared for this fight. I obviously, man, obviously something is going on behind the scenes, because there's a stupidly high level of confidence coming from Team Pacquiao. $40 million. You got your coaches saying that these guys aren't even on your level. That he's basically going to walk through these guys. And, you know, you're supposed to have confidence and you're supposed to build your fighter up. But this level of confidence is lightweight scary, if you ask me. Because, I mean, what if he comes in flat? I mean, this could really end up ugly. Just put it that way. I just hope, like you said, Brian Santos, that they're going to be prepared. They're obviously confident that they are prepared. So, you know, I'm confident that he can win. There's no doubt in my mind that he can win this fight. I just hope, you know, that what we're hearing is not a bluff, you know, which I don't think it is. Hey, it's good to be confident. It's a little cocky to be overconfident. James Anderson, Terence Crawford straight up. So, yeah, we know who he's rolling with. Brian Santos, Dalian. Listen, if you putting cuss words in the chat, man, I'm not accepting your comment. You're going to have to rewrite it. Take the curse words out. There are young people. Let's be respectful of all people. There are older people that come into the chat. There are young people that come into the chat. You know, some old people don't want to have to deal with people using certain words, and some young people shouldn't be exposed to these words. So please be respectful, man. You know, we're all intelligent human beings. We just want to talk boxing. We don't have to use curse words to express ourselves. You know, express yourself using proper English, man. We can all do that. If I have to sit here for 2 hours and I have to express myself without using a cuss word because I'm trying to be respectful of everyone, this is the same respect I want back in the chat, man. For real though. From everybody that comes in here, because I'm trying to make a decent community for everybody, not just myself, but for you, not just for you, but for everybody. So just be respectful, man, please. Kabayan, man, it's been a while since you dropped that first comment. I'm sorry I got back to it so late. Mental state about winning if the fights happen. Their mental state. I mean, they're going to be overjoyed. If either one of them get that fight and beat Pacquiao, it's the biggest payday of their life. It's the biggest win of their boxing career. I mean, their mental state is going to be euphoric. One word describes their mental state. Euphoric. It's going to be out of this world. It's going to be otherworldly, because they just took out the best fighter other than themselves out there. So I think that word is the perfect word to use to describe their mental state if they win that fight. It's going to be euphoric. If it's Terence Crawford who takes out Pacquiao, you're going to see the happiest. Bob Arum might smile himself to death. So everybody be on. If Terence Crawford wins, everybody look out for Bob Arum, because he might just smile himself to death into a heart attack. It's going to be very interesting. I think that would be their mental state is going to be euphoric. If, on the other hand, if we as Pacquiao fans, and if Pacquiao wins, I might turn over a city bus. If he beats Terence Crawford, I'm going to go live. I'm going to find me a city bus, and I'm going to flip it over by myself. Believe those words, boy. Yeah, I see on the news that the skinny black guy from YouTube who does all the Pacquiao videos flipped over a city bus and got locked up, and is screaming and yelling through the jail. Believe me, it's going to happen. All right, so Mikey Mara says, and I like Pac-Man, Bud hands different, but I'm with you. I want to see it. Plus, Bud beating Pac-Man will make Bud and Spence bigger than ever. Exactly, man. So when Pacquiao says, and like I just said, man, according to Justin Fortune, I don't think he cares if he loses to Bud. I think he's gonna go fight Spence as well. I think he's doing it for the fans, win or lose. He just wants to experience this. I might be wrong, but what they're basically saying now, if he gets floored by Crawford, I think you might see some new. he might have a change of heart about trying to turn around and go fight Errol Spence Jr. But from what they're saying, man, it's looking like both of these fights I'll go. And I can't wait for either one of them. If I get one and he wins one, I'm not playing. I'm gonna flip over a city bus. Somewhere I'm finding a city. It's gonna be a small city bus. It's gonna be about this big, but I'm gonna flip it over by myself. Brian Santos, all the fighters Manny fought, Manny was always the smaller guy. That's why Manny is the GOAT. Fight anyone. I mean, I agree with you. He has done amazing things into the sport. I agree that he is a GOAT. I'm never gonna put him above Ali. I'm never gonna put Ali above Pacquiao. They're whatever position they're at, they're both on the same level because to me their careers are very parallel. I feel like they did very similar things in the sport. I feel like that they did very similar things outside of the sport. Both guys, tremendously great fighters. Both guys, humanitarians. I just feel like their careers are very parallel. So I would never put one above the other. Philip San Pedro. What's good, Pedro? Appreciate you for coming through. James Anderson, full dog. I appreciate you for dropping the comments, Pedro. Rusty Baclau. Crawford, no match for Pac-Man. PH. Straight up, man. I feel you. I feel the same way. I think Pacquiao still has what it takes to beat these guys. I just can't wait for the fight. Mark Murray, Brian Santos, Manny was suspected to be on the juice too. I like Manny, but keeping your power from 108 to 147 is suspect as hell, but I like Pac-Man. Listen, okay, when it comes to this whole steroid talk and Manny Pacquiao, I think it's kind of foolish, man. It's really foolish. Pacquiao never got caught doing anything. And on the other hand, the guy who was accusing him of doing something he technically got caught, but he didn't get caught and sanctioned for anything. But he technically got caught with the whole IV gate. So Manny Pacquiao's never been caught doing anything. He sued the guy who was accusing him and won. Plus the guy who was accusing him technically has got caught with an IV. So, I mean, for you to say Pacquiao's on the juice it's out of line, man. You're kind of out of line for saying that. Number two, the reason Pacquiao generates so much power has nothing to do with steroids and everything to do with just look at his legs. That's where the power comes from. His legs have always been that big. People who look at Pacquiao's upper body and say that's where the power is coming from, and his head got big, and look at his arms at this point, look at his arms at that point, you're looking at the wrong part of his body because your power is generated from your legs. And Pacquiao's legs have been humongous for his size his whole career. Just go back and look, and I don't know one person who can isolate steroids. I've never seen a person be able to isolate steroids. I don't think you can isolate steroids. When you take steroids, they're going to affect your whole body, and that's just going to make your legs bigger. So the whole steroid talk is pretty much foolish, man. And if you're a real boxing fan, you shouldn't even be thinking that, because you should already know that he never been caught. The guy who accused him did get caught technically, and the guy who accused him got sued for accusing him of doing something he's never been caught for. So, hey, it is what it is. He hurt his hands. That's why Pretty Boy switched up. I remember that. That is why he switched up. But I don't know why he switched up into the whole Money Mayweather persona. He should have stuck with the. I mean, it made him a lot more money, so I guess you shouldn't have stuck with the pretty boy persona. He did what was best for him, and I'll put it that way. No shade to Mayweather for making money. I only shade Mayweather for what he did to the sport. And I think, if things keep going the way they're going, boxing might not be around in 20 years. We'll all have Mayweather to blame for that. But at least it's not going to be around in the same aspect as we saw 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or maybe even 3 years ago. It's definitely not going to look the same as it normally has. It might even morph into something more like the WWF at some point. So, hey man, you got Mayweather to thank for that. Broke Robert the second. Broken Robert the second. Hope it's a 12-round war. I appreciate your comment, Robert the second, man. I do too, man. I want to see a great fight, similar to the Pacquiao Morales fight, similar to the Pacquiao Barrera, similar to Pacquiao and God, what's his name? I always forget his name. The little guy he beat. This is like 15 years ago, but I can't remember his name. Every time I watched the documentary when he beat him, I liked that fight, man. It was a great fight. Every time I try to catch up in the chat, I lose myself. Okay, ZZ, what's good, ZZ, man? Appreciate you for coming through. True, but Spence resume better. I'm not arguing that. I've already said that. Spence's resume is killing Crawford's resume all day long. Crawford fans be blind, super duper. And being a fan kind of blinds you to things. You wanna believe what you want to believe, and you're always gonna do things to elevate the guy you like and try to downgrade the guy you don't like. I'm not really like that. I kind of go off, facts and skill sets, and that's what I base things off of. I try not to base it just off of because I like a fighter. I base it off of facts and skills, So I know people might say, well, you just overly biased to Pacquiao. All you talk about is Pacquiao. I talk about a lot more than just Pacquiao, but people only see that Pacquiao's the main subject. They might not stick around to listen to everything I said. They hear the Pacquiao parts, but they might not stick around to hear what I said about Spence, or hear what I said about Crawford, or hear how I broke down the Deontay Wilder fight. It just is what it is, man. So, hey, I agree with you, though. Spence has the better resume out of those two guys. James Anderson, Crawford, #1 man, and don't forget Philip San Pedro. Kabaya says, Red, can you explained it properly about Floyd being Red, you explained it properly about Floyd being pretty boy to the money boy. People talking it, but I can't understand it. It is what it is, man. For when he moved, I liked him as Pretty Boy Floyd. I felt like his style as Pretty Boy Floyd, it was the perfect style for him. When he did hurt his hand, and when he made that comeback, but I think the whole Money Mayweather persona actually came from the WWF. Because if you remember when he took some time off, he went and did some things with the WWF, and basically what I think he saw over there was villains are they're profitable. Being a villain is very profitable, and I think he realized that from the WWF. He realized if he flipped his persona, he could probably make a whole lot more money. And I just think that's something. It was a smart business move on his part, as far as flipping to be the villain. Now, what he did as far as cherry picking fights, I feel like that's something he had to do for the villain persona to work. Because if he was taking fights and getting beat, the whole villain persona that he took on wouldn't have worked. It only worked because he was beating guys and then making fun of them or talking crazy to them. So the whole villain, and when he beats you, and when you beat somebody, you can talk crazy to him because you just beat them, you know. So for him to win, it took for him to win for the villain persona to work. If he was losing, so if he was taking hard fights and losing, the whole villain persona, it just wouldn't have worked out for him. So, I mean, listen, he made a lot of money. I don't want to take away from the fact that he made a lot of money, but he did ruin the sport at the same time. So it was a double-edged sword. I mean, it worked out in his favor, but it completely destroyed the sport of boxing. Let's just be honest. Calvin 4116. Crawford rather take the 60-40 versus Pac-Man instead of Spence. That just tells me he really don't care for Spence fight. Actually, the split with Pacquiao is 31-69. And the only reason he's taking the Pacquiao fight is because it's worth more than the Spence fight is. Yes, the Spence fight is a 60-40, but they're not putting up the type of money for the Spence fight that they are for this Pacquiao fight. Pacquiao has outside investors. The Spence fight has to be made between Bob Arum and Al Heyman and whoever they have invested. These outside investors are putting up the money for this Pacquiao fight, so it's the reason there's a lot more money involved in it. It's because it's not just coming from Top Rank, or it's not just coming from PBC. So there's a lot more money involved in this fight. So I agree with you to a certain extent, but that's not the reason why he's taking this Pacquiao fight. It's because there's more money involved in it. Boxing fan, not Floyd's. He's never taken a drug test outside of 8-week fight camps. Not Floyd's. He's never. I don't know what you meant by that, boxing fan, but I appreciate your comment. Appreciate you for coming through, brother. But I will say this: Floyd got caught with the IV, allegedly. Let's say allegedly, because he never got sanctioned or anything. We just know that what he was doing is called masking when it comes to PEDs and steroids. So technically he technically got caught, but he didn't get sanctioned for anything. So I think this is one of the reasons you probably won't ever see him in the sport again, unless there's some stupidly huge numbers as far as money on the line. ZZ, why is Canelo fighting a dude who hasn't fought in 2 years and he's lost his last fight? I don't know who's Canelo fighting next. I've been so deep into this Pacquiao Crawford fight, I haven't really been paying no attention to who Canelo fight. I did hear that he was close to signing his next fight, but I don't know who he's fighting. I'll go look that up, man, when I get out of here. Brian Santos, different era combined with weight, Ali and Manny. Do you mean like what if they fought? What do you mean by that? But I will say, I made that comparison between Ali and Manny based on what they did in the ring, as far as being superstars, beating a lot of champions, being multiple time champions, and then the fact I say that the careers are parallel because not only did they do that inside the boxing ring, but they did great humanitarian things outside the boxing ring too. So I say their careers are parallel for that reason, not because they were in the same era or in the same division or anything. Not based off of like weight or anything. It's based off of legacy in the sport and legacy of what they did as far as humanitarian efforts. James Anderson, Spence trying to take the same fighters Crawford, and I know Spence ducking Crawford. I hate that word ducking, man, but listen, the Crawford Spence fight, it's money standing in the way, and it's not the split that's keeping it from not happening. It's just not enough money involved in the fight. Like I just said, there's outside investors investing in this Pacquiao fight. This is why it's a lot more lucrative. So, it's a lot more to do with money than ducking. I won't call it ducking. I will say these guys are not fighting each other. It really shouldn't have anything to do with money. They should just be fighting each other. I just hate that word ducking. So I don't want to say they ducking. I'm going to just say the business of boxing isn't there when it comes to that fight. I hate that word ducking, man. I don't think Spence is ducking Crawford. I just think Spence is set on that number. He wants a certain amount. If they feel like the fight's only going to generate a certain amount, then he's not going to come down off his number. I'm not going to sit here and say that man's ducking anybody. I hate that word ducking. Yeah. It is what it is. Ain't Live. What's good, Ain't Live, man? I ain't seen you in a while. Bud going to treat him like he did Gamboa. Bud going to retire him. We'll have to see, man. I can't wait for this fight. I hope it's as great as we're all getting hyped up as for it to be. But we just got to see, man. Rodolfo Lopez, what's good, man? What's up, Red? Nice stream. Appreciate you, brother, for coming through, man. I really like seeing repeat people coming into the chat, man. Lets me know everybody's enjoying it, and we're growing a community over here, man. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to just build up a channel, man, and make money off y'all. I want this to be a community. I would like more people to be involved, which is the reason I'm doing more lives, because I want people to feel like they're involved, man, in the conversation, instead of just y'all just listening to me and just gotta like everything I say. You don't gotta like everything I say. You can contribute to the conversation as well. Ain't Live, and I bet Bud win. He still ain't gonna get no credit at all. Old Pac owed, he was washed, and all this crazy stuff. Listen, yes, Manny Pacquiao's older than them, but he's not much older than Terence Crawford. He's only about 6 years older than Terence Crawford. So you can't say he's that much older than Pacquiao. And he just beat Keith Thurman, so how could you say he's washed? He dominated Keith Thurman. He dominated Adrian Broner. He dominated Lucas Matisse. He dominated Jesse Vargas. He beat Jeff Horn, but he got cheated. I can never say he's washed. Who can say Pacquiao's washed after he just did all that stuff? Danny Garcia ain't won. He lost his last fight. Nobody's saying Danny Garcia's washed. Keith Thurman lost his last fight to Pacquiao. Who's saying Keith Thurman is washed? Nobody's saying he's washed. I could go on and on, man. Just because a person take a loss or just because a person gets older, I don't see why we got to start calling them names. I think these are things that people do based off their own abilities, because they felt like when they hit 40 that they was washed up. Like, listen, don't project yourself onto someone else. It's ridiculous, man. And Ain't Live, I'm not coming down on you, bro. I'm not coming down on you. I'm just saying, man, if he beats Pacquiao, I'm going to give him the credit. I'm the one making this stream and spouting this stuff. So if you want to go approach anybody and say, hey, Crawford beat your guy, come tell me, and I'll be the first one to congratulate you, man. Like, okay, yeah, he took him down. He did what he was supposed to do. And I'm not going to say, well, Pacquiao tripped and fell that morning, so that's the reason why he lost. No, I'm going to say, well, he won. Same way I give Jeff Horn credit because he has the victory on paper. Whether he won that fight or not, you still have to say, well, he technically won. You can't take that away from him. Even though I feel like Pacquiao beat Mayweather, I can't take nothing away from Mayweather. He technically won the fight, so I would never say he was washed or is old or anything, or not give Bud his credit. If he wins, come over here, holler at me, and I'm gonna tell you, man to man, I'll go live and I'll virtually shake everybody's hand who's a Crawford fan, because you guys took out my man Manny Pacquiao. I'm not one of those people, man. I'm a realist, man. It's not that deep to me. This is the sport of boxing. These are athletes going up against athletes. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to lose. It just is what it is, man. I'm not them other guys, dude. Mike Murray, respect to Red. Love that you just keep it real. No bias, just real talk. Respect. 100, man. I appreciate that, bro. JMO measuring stick. I'm new to this channel and I F with you. Your energy already, bro. Keep doing your thing. I salute you, bro. Man, salute back. JMO measuring stick. If that man got a channel and he got videos, go support him, man. Straight up and down, man. Ain't no hate over here. We want to support everybody who supports us. This is a community. It ain't about me, bro. This is a community. And believe me, y'all, believe me, it will expand past Pacquiao at some point. But Pacquiao, you know, he's how I'm launching the channel. You know, he's my favorite fighter. He's who I want to focus on at the moment. I would rather give you the most up-to-date and accurate information on one fighter than to spread myself too thin and not give you everything that's truthful about every fighter out there. Because to be honest with you, it's impossible to cover every fighter, know everything about their career, and just tell people the 100% truth about everything that's going surrounding that fighter and their fights, because it would be impossible for you to do that, man. There's too many fighters or too many good fights out there. And so I decided to, until I can build up a decent enough team, I'm just going to focus on one fighter and then focus on the best fights out there until, you know, I get to the point where I can cover everything. So don't feel like we're just going to be focusing on Pacquiao forever. Eventually we got to move past Pacquiao. Eventually, like he said, at the end of the year, this might be his last year in the sport anyway. So, Pac, what's good, Pac? I'm late to the party. He's always late. He's always late, better late than never, homie. But I appreciate you for coming through, man, like always, man. I'm going to eventually make you a moderator, and I got a few other people I want to make moderators in the chat, man. I'm pretty sure you know what a moderator is, but eventually, you know, you've been, Tris805 and a few other people, man. I definitely, I would love for you guys to really be a part of the channel. And anybody else who wants to be a part of the channel and contribute to, like, making videos and live streaming. Or maybe even going live yourself and giving your own personal opinion. So, man, Pac, I appreciate you, man. Y'all hit that like button. Y'all heard what Pac said, man. It might be the real Manny Pacquiao. We don't know who's behind that logo. So we got to show him respect. Rodolfo Lopez. Hey, Mike Murray, you got to consider that Manny wasn't even 100 pounds when he started and was malnourished. He just grew into his body and was going to be a 135, 140 grown man eventually. Yeah, I mean, he was still a kid when he first started. So for people to say, oh, well, he did this in his head, man, it's nonsense, man. I hate that whole conversation. I'm going to finish up this chat, man, and I think we're going to get out of here. It's been almost 3 hours, bro. I appreciate everybody for coming through. If it's 69 people in here right now, if y'all could take time out to Jesse Vargas or Nacho Garcia, the like button for me. Pacquiao, the like button. Spence, the like button. Crawford, the like button. Canelo, whatever you got to do, man. Let me know y'all heard her. Drop me a comment before I get out of here, man. Appreciate that. Let me finish these comments so I can get out of here. Rodolfo says, just because most boxers nowadays start boxing already pretty much the adult weight, they don't move up more than 3 to 5 weight classes. Manny was just a rare case with supernatural abilities. Man, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. I don't think I can expand more on that. I think you hit the nail right on the head with that one. Most guys who do come into the sport, actually, I will expand a little bit on that. So a lot of guys, they start out in the amateurs. And most fans have only been following your professional career. So you actually never watched those guys' body transform when they were teenagers and they were going through the amateurs. So by the time they hit the professional rankings, they're already, like you said, in their grown man body. Where Pacquiao was a little different. He actually lied and said he was older than what he was when he started his boxing career. So he was still a kid growing into his body. Most of these guys went through the amateur rankings and that's when they were growing into their body. And when their professional career started, is when you started noticing them, and they were already grown men by that time. So Rodolfo Lopez, he put it perfectly. Not much more to say. Mike Murray says, Rodolfo, I hear you, but in boxing, you just don't normally see it. He didn't want to be. He didn't want to be tested. He didn't want to be drug tested. That's what held up to Floyd Mayweather. But I like Pac-Man. No, that's what Mayweather said held up the fight. Now Mayweather can say whatever he wants to say about the drug testing, but there was another reason for why Pacquiao didn't want the drug testing. It wasn't the fact he didn't want drug testing. Let's be completely honest here, and you can go back and find these documentaries because they're out there. Pacquiao said it out of his own mouth. It had nothing to do with the drug testing the first time around. It was the frequency of the drug testing. Floyd Mayweather wanted him to be tested, I think, multiple times a day. And Manny Pacquiao said, I already don't like needles being stuck. I'm willing to be stuck, I think it was 1, 2, or 3 times a week, but he wasn't going to do it on a daily basis. Well, Floyd Mayweather wanted him to be stuck on a daily basis. So let's keep it all the way real, man. Rusty Bacala, no chance. Crawford, no match to the people's champ. Mike Murray, Rodolfo Lopez, real rare, especially keeping his power. Holy Inferno, Fax Mayweather said that his power comes from the legs. Exactly. James, I appreciate you for that comment, Holy Inferno, man. Good to see you, bro. James Anderson, we're going to see Manny Manny Pacquiao for president 2022. I hope he wins, man. I hope. I need to be clear about this, because one person's telling me he's running for the vice presidency. And then other people are saying he's running for the presidency. So I'm confused now. If you're in the Philippines, let me know. Is Manny Pacquiao going to be president of the Philippines in 2022, or is he running for vice president behind the lady who is the daughter of the current president, I believe? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I thought. I believe somebody told me that about a week ago. Okay, James, how much you bet for Crawford, man? Getting interested in her is heating up. A Holy Inferno, bro. If Pacquiao had pimples on his back like Juan did, their fourth fight, they would be on Pacquiao like crazy. And here's another thing, man. People gotta understand. I'm not even saying Marquez was on steroids. I'm not even gonna say that, because if you work out a lot, and if you're an athlete, you should know this as a fact, okay? When you sweat a lot as an athlete, your pores close up, toxins come out of your body when you're training. And a lot of these guys, they don't train year-round. So when they go from being inactive to being super active, and they start sweating a lot, and their pores open up and toxins start leaking out of their pores, then that's why they get all that acne. That's why you start seeing acne pop up. It has nothing to do with steroids. People need to stop grasping at this steroid straw, man. It has nothing to do with steroids. If you're an athlete, you should already know this, because you should have. It should have been times to where you were out training or sweating, and you broke out in acne. It happens. It's just what happens when you're sweating constantly. Your pores are constantly open. Your body's leaking toxins. This is what happens. You get acne in weird places. It's going to happen. It's nothing to do with steroids. People, please stop grasping at the steroid straw and accusing everybody of being on steroids. Just because they beat your favorite fighter, it don't mean that they juiced up. Believe me, it don't mean that they juiced up. And I don't care what division or belt that they were fighting for, or sanctioning body approved. I don't care. It has nothing to do with steroids. The closest anybody's been caught, closest anybody has been to being caught for doing steroids is what Mayweather did with the IV. It's obvious he was doing something with that IV, but nobody knows. He didn't get caught, so I'm not going to sit here and say he was juiced up. Was he doing something shady? He was obviously doing something shady, but I don't know he was juiced up. He might have, it might have been some therapeutic reason he used it. I don't know. But he's the only person who's been close to getting caught juicing. I mean, it just is what it is. So, I mean, let's leave the steroid talk alone, man. It's ridiculous. Holy Inferno, true. Rodolfo Lopez. Mikey, I get what you mean, but like Red said, he's never been caught using. Man, we gotta kill that noise, man, for real. That's ridiculous. Ralph Absina, you can still bet at Manny 42. I'll put my money on Manny to win this fight. I don't care, you know, if win or lose, man. Like I said, I'm just happy it's possibly going down. Rusty Blanco, pretty boy, it's all about money. He did not face Crawford, Spence, Thurman, and rematch to Pac-Man. It is what it is, man. You know, we all know what Mayweather's about. James Anderson, Terence Crawford is better than Spence. You can make any kind of what you and I don't care about the resume. Hey, oh man, you guys make me smile, man. I'll put it that way. Always lurking, Carter. Shroom, what's good with you, bro? I appreciate you for coming through, man. Appreciate you for coming through, bro. No, love seeing you, man. Good to see you, bro. Glad everything is good with you. Ain't lie. What's good, big boy? Big dog. I didn't subscribe, but I'm a subscribe right now. Salute, ain't lie. Salute, man. I appreciate you, man. Just as long as you come through, you ain't gotta be subscribed. As long as you come through and holler at us every once in a while. I appreciate that. James Anderson, Muhammad Ali, he didn't duck Frazier, but I don't know what Spence doing now. I feel like Spence is ducking Terence. Look, I went into that already. I don't think he's ducking him. All the balls are in Spence's court. You know, everybody's playing in Spence's court. So it is what it is, man. He can do what he wants to at this point. We're not gonna hate. I'm not gonna hate and say he's ducking. Holy Inferno. To me, Pacquiao haven't lost since Marquez KO. He's still on a crazy run. And I agree with that, man. I totally agree with that. Ever since he really technically hasn't lost since that fight. But we can't take away from the people who won on paper. So, you know, it is what it is. Technically, we got to give them, you know, their just due. But to me, he hasn't lost since the Marquez fight. Ain't live. You gonna give him the credit for beating Pac, but not the rest. Well, you know, let them people live in their fantasy world. Ain't live. You know the truth. I know the truth. Hey, I'll acknowledge it for the rest of the world if they don't want to do it. Holy Inferno. Nah, Spence deserves that 60-40. He's been lit in pay-per-view since Mikey Garcia fight. I think he deserves the money. I'm not arguing with that. Crawford, unfortunately, don't draw a crowd, so it is what it is. BR3 Hatton the lightweight. Hey, you can punch it like Hatton, or you can fall on it like when Pacquiao knocked him through the floor. Either way, just double duke the like button for me. I like to do a collab at some point when I'm free, man. Definitely, man. Hit me up on WhatsApp. Holler at me in the community section, or go to my email address, man. That way we can be on a little more private conversation with each other, and so you don't have to share your private information with everybody. But if you want to make that happen, I'm down, bro. I ain't got no problem with it. BR3 says, make Philippines great again. He's definitely gonna do that, man. He's definitely gonna make the Philippines. He actually might take the Philippines to a whole nother level. Being that he's been in America for so long, he knows the things. I'm pretty sure he knows a lot of things that he could do. He knows a lot of people over here he can collabo with and start to modernize. And I'm not sure if that's what the people of the Philippines want. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. But maybe he can start to modernize some portions of the Philippines that's not so modern yet. So I feel like a lot of great things are coming for the Philippines, man. Salute to the people of the Philippines, man. Big things coming for y'all when Manny Pacquiao becomes president. Flex, what up, brother? Evolution. All right, man. I see you, bro. You back in here, man. Accelerated evolution. Big homie. Appreciate you for coming back through. James Anderson, the fight ain't going to happen, but then the two best fighters in boxing. I believe it's going to happen, man. I believe eventually it's going to happen. I believe eventually Crawford Spence will happen. Unless Pacquiao knocks Crawford out. If Pacquiao knocks him out, I think you can pretty much take any type of Spence Crawford fight off the table. There's no need for it to happen at that point. Hot Rod, what's good, man? What's good? I see you came back again. Name me an elite fighter that Bud Crawford fought. And Kell Brook. Kell Brook is the most elite name. You have to say Jeff Horn just because he was a champion when he beat him. But we all know Jeff Horn's not an elite fighter. He just kind of got given the championship. But Jeff Horn and Kell Brook. Melvin Lopez. Mesa Lopez. Pacquiao Crawford is sure. Is it sure? Basically what happened, man, is Terence Crawford came out according to a lot of sources and said he would accept the $10 million. Nothing's officially signed yet, but for sure he did say he accepts that $10 million split. Nothing's official yet, though. We're waiting for Big Bob, Uncle Bob, as some people like to call him, to say that the contract is signed, basically. Pac-Man, funny thing is, Pac-Man back then, when Floyd accused him using steroids, he doesn't even know what's a steroid. You know, a lot of times it has nothing to do with the fighters. It has something to do with the strength and conditioning coaches suggesting a supplement to you that might be unregulated at the time. And, you know, years later, what happens is they start to regulate those substances, and people will go back and try to grasp at straws. I'm not saying that's what happened with Pacquiao, but with some fighters in the past, that is what has happened. I know it happens a lot in the UFC, but the UFC kind of regulates themselves, so they're a whole different ball game, really. Holy Inferno, bruh. If Pac used IV that could mask PED, everybody would go crazy, but everybody's silent on Mayweather. Like I said, man, you know, he obviously was doing something, but he didn't get caught, so we can't accuse him of anything other than saying that he obviously was doing something. What he was trying to mask, we don't know. He didn't get caught, so we don't know. Hot Rod says, still waiting. Adam M. They fooled me last year. I'm not getting my hopes up. Well, I mean, it was set to go. We can't blame that on Bob or Crawford or Manny. You know, Mother Nature took that fight from us. But in a cruel twist of fate, or in a lucky twist of fate, I would put it that way, not cruel, in a lucky twist of fate, we might actually get a better fight than we would have the last time it was spoke up. So let's just hope it happens, man. We get what we want, and both of these guys get it on here very soon, and they announce it. Holy Inferno, Hatton literally folded. It was bad. It was about as bad as the Gervonta Davis Leo Santa Cruz punch when Pacquiao knocked out Hatton. It was a devastating punch. He was asleep as soon as it landed. You could see he was asleep as soon as it landed. Hot Rod, about like what you're saying about Ali. I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. you know, I hold those guys at a very high regard, man, in the sport of boxing. I hold a lot of fighters at a high regard, but I give Pacquiao and Ali a special place, not because of what they did in the ring, but because of what they did outside of the ring. Ali, stood up for us as black people and put his life, career, financial state, and everything on the line. And, it was very commendable, especially during those times. And what Manny Pacquiao's doing for his people, facing militias, facing the pandemic, facing all the other crazy stuff that I'm pretty sure the Philippines comes with, but still walking tough and still knocking guys through the ropes is very commendable, man. So if you wonder why I put them in such high regards, it has nothing to do with boxing. It has a lot to do with the type of human beings that they are. So it is what it is, man. Carlos Molina, what's up, Cardinal Red? What's up, Carlos? Shouts out to you, man. Salute. Appreciate you for coming through. Man, I appreciate everybody for coming through, man. 50 people still in the chat, man. I'm about to get out of here. I gotta eat something. It's been almost 3 hours. If anybody hasn't hit the like button yet, please, for me, Ricky Hatton, the like button. Fall on it, man. Punch it. Whatever you can do to let me know you in here, man. If we can get to 75 before I get out of here in about 2 minutes, I would really, really appreciate it, man. Thank you. James Baxter, Uncle Bob Moore, like great grandpa Bob. The dinosaur needs to retire. Hey man, like I said earlier, if Crawford knocks Pacquiao out, you might see Bob Arum smile his way into retirement. Just to be real, bro, you might see him smile his way into retirement. So it is what it is. Pac says, "Where's Cap? ? Do you guys make collaboration today?" No, unfortunately, Cap said he had some things to take care of. He did hit me up a little while ago, but I was doing the chat, so I didn't want to stop. But hopefully we can get that made for tomorrow. He left me a message. I'm gonna go check when I get off of her. So be looking out for that tomorrow. It would have been great to have him on here to get his information, his input about the information that was dropped today. But unfortunately, he had some things to take care of. So be looking for that tomorrow, man. Or if we can't get it done tomorrow, definitely the day after, depending on what he has going on. I haven't listened to his message yet, so I don't know what's going on exactly just yet. But definitely my man, all the females, all the men, all everybody who came through today, man. I thank you for coming through, man. Appreciate it. We had a heck of a conversation today. A lot of new news breaking. Big news, great news surrounding Manny Pacquiao and his potential fight with Terence Bud Crawford. And my mind is on. This live will be going back up, so if you missed anything, just go back, rewind it, check it out, man. All the information is out there at this point. I'm going to finish these last few comments up and I'm out of here, brother. Rodolfo Lopez says, hit the like, please, peoples. Please. Boss, the like button. The like button, boss. Please, the like button. Adam M. Nope. Not using COVID excuse. Pac team last year said Bob never sent offer while Bob was lying, saying not enough investors. Well, I heard the complete opposite about that. I heard that they already had all the money, and the next thing I know, C-19 hit. So I'm not blaming anybody in this situation. It is what it is, man. Things happen. We're living in the future now, so we'll move on from last year, and we're gonna go off of what's being talked about right now. I'm only living in the present, man. That's all we can do. We're obviously getting a fight from Pacquiao, no matter what. Even if it's not Terence Crawford, hopefully it's not Mikey or any of the Nacho Garcias. But taking nothing from them, but we just want to see legendary-ish coming from Pacquiao in these last two fights. Bruh, speaking of Ali, tell me one fighter that did better than Ali in one weight class. Huh. Interesting. I never even thought about that. Cause Ali was always, he was a heavyweight his whole time. He was never a cruiserweight or a light or a middleweight. He was always a heavyweight and did excellent as a heavyweight for as many years as he fought. That's very interesting that you brought that up. I never even thought about that. I have to look into that now that you thought. I might make a whole video about that. If you want to be involved in that Holy Inferno, you came up with it, bro. I would definitely love to do a collabo video about that with you, man. If you know any more information about that, because I never even looked at it like that. It never even crossed my mind that he was only in one weight class his whole career. So appreciate that info, bro. Adam M. Ali. All I'm saying is don't get your hopes up. This is Bob Arum we talking about. I mean, that's very true. He's a very cheap man. And it's very surprising that someone so rich is so cheap. But I guess that's how the rich truly stay rich. You can't spend all your money and call yourself rich. Look at MC Hammer, to name one. Look at Adrian Broner, to name another one. So if Bob Arum was out here grilled up and making rap videos like Adrian Broner, he might already be out the game. So let's encourage Bob Arum to put his new rap album out. So maybe he'll have to maybe he have to be forced into retirement after the Top Rank album drops. Hey, that's the last question I got. I'm gonna finish these comments. I'll be out of here, man. What would the name of Bob Arum's album be? What would the name of Bob Arum's album be? Somebody drop the name of Bob Arum's album before I get out of here. Brian Santos, Bud versus Manny fight is going to do great on pay-per-view. Can't wait. I completely agree with you, man. I think this fight does some super ridiculous numbers. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it could be one of those fights that bring a lot of new fans into the sport. I think it's great for the sport of boxing. I hope they make it. I hope it happens. Can't wait. James Anderson got Crawford winning. All right, man. Everybody, when this fight goes down, everybody got to stand on their word, man. Remember, all this stuff is archived. I don't throw these lives away. Believe me, I'm gonna be eating a whole bunch of pie if Pacquiao goes down. But we men over here, so we accept our wins, we accept our losses like a man, all day long, every day, 7 days a week, 12 months of the year. We're gonna get it. Jay Dubber, man, y'all got. I'm trying to leave, man. I'm hungry, y'all. Bud versus Manny be the latest mega fight. So much casual hype after that Thurman fight. Listen, the Thurman fight is one of the reasons why Pacquiao fans and fans in general of boxing feel like Pacquiao still has it. But you can't argue with the fact that Manny Pacquiao went through Jesse Vargas, Lucas Matisse, Adrian Broner, and Keith Thurman. Okay, so it wasn't just Keith Thurman. He's technically, let me see. He fought somebody else too in there. He fought somebody else after Jeff Horn. I just can't remember who it was, but he hasn't lost in like 5 fights. So we I don't understand why people do that, man. Let's not take away from Pacquiao and the fact that he's been dominating for a while now. All right, so Uncle Bob kid will get a lesson from teacher Manny. I hope so, man. And that comes from Renz Kringle. Rodolfo Lopez, Manny at 147. Jay Butter, Bob might pull this off for one last big hurrah. I hope so, bro. Bob the that's an awesome name. I'm gonna make a thumbnail out of that. I'm gonna make a thumbnail of his album cover tonight. That's gonna be my next. That's gonna be for my next video, man. Bob the Builder. James Baxter. Bob Earl's rap name would be Little Little Real. Little Rillick. Oh man, y'all killing me. James Anderson. I respect Pacquiao boxing, and I don't believe Pacquiao needs steroids to win. Hey, straight up, man. I'm about to get out of here. I can't even focus no more. Adam M. Get rich on Oh man. Accelerated Evolution said Broner and Vargas had a draw award as well afterwards. I didn't even know that. That's interesting. Holy Inferno said yes. I'm down whatever, bro. Okay, cool. Get at me, bro. You know, anytime you can, man. Get at me on WhatsApp or just let me know. You know, drop me a comment somewhere. Let me know. Matter of fact, man, just hit my email address up, bro. That'll be the quickest way for us to get in contact with each other and the most private way for us to get in contact with each other. Just holler at me in the email, or if you got WhatsApp, you can holler at me on WhatsApp. Man, y'all have me dying over here, man. That was some great. The Bob the Builder one, man, that got me. Hey, that get rich alive trying. Mikey be like, get rich more tacos. Oh man, hey, Mikey got money, so he can eat as many tacos as he want. Revival Lopez says, get something to eat. Accelerated Evolution before the Pac Broner fight. After the Vargas Pac fight, interesting. Well, man, 115, they slugged it out. Showed the skill difference. Interesting. I'm gonna have to go look at Fight Up. I didn't even know they fought. Accelerated Evolution of Pac. All right, man. It's been 3 hours. If you haven't hit the like button, man, it's 55 people in here. I'll give one more minute, man. See if we can't get it up to 80 likes, man. I would appreciate that. I appreciate everybody for coming through once again. If you want to be a part of the community as far as contributing, if you're in a city where fights go down, man, you want to be a correspondent and you want to, give something back to the channel, holler at me, man. Hit me up in my email, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you can find me at, man. Get at me so we can do a collabo, man. Put something together so for all boxing fans and people of the community, man, that something that they would enjoy. So definitely, if you want to do that, man, get at me. I'm doing boxing. I'm doing fishing. If you're in Louisville, we can go fishing. I do basketball. I'm gonna be introducing the basketball, talking there eventually. So it's all type of things. It don't just got to be about boxing. Whatever you enjoy surrounding sports, man, we can make it happen. So holler at me. I'm going to get through these last few comments, and I'm out of here, bro. Nico Tuno the third if this fight happening, who do you think is the underdog, Crawford or Pacquiao? As far as underdog, I would say I would have to give it to Crawford. I would say Crawford's the underdog, actually. I think people a lot of people think Pacquiao's got his number. I appreciate your comment there, Nico, man. I appreciate you for coming through, bro. Oscar Asuna, here showing love and support. Dig, dog, last minute. I appreciate you for coming through, Oscar, man. I hope to see you in the next one, bro. Come back through tomorrow. Me and Caps hopefully are going to get it on. If not, we'll do it the next day, and I'll definitely be back on here tomorrow, especially if any new news drops as far as Bob Arum finally signing the contract. My bad, brother. No, you good, bro. You are very good, man. This is a community, man. We support one another, and if you ever want to collab, you heard what I just said, man. We can all get down. Elevator says later, home. Well, yeah, I appreciate you, bro. Definitely get at me, man. Don't forget, bro. Boxing Viral PH. If Bob won't accept the offer, Pac-Man is destined to fight Spence. That's their biggest plan. I think that's already in motion. If you don't accept, I think it's already in motion, bro. I actually think it will still happen, but I think there's a chance in there. If he don't fight Crawford first, that he goes and fights you guys for that WBA belt back. Accelerated is the last comment. I'm out here. April 21st, 2018, Adrian Broner, the Problem, faced off against Jesse, the Pride of Las Vegas, Vargas in a thrilling battle of welterweight elites live on Showtime from the Barclays. You know, I actually think I remember seeing the promotion for that fight. I just don't think I watched it. But I appreciate that accelerated evolution. I'm going to go watch that fight, man, while I eat me something. Appreciate everybody for coming through. Always remember, man, this is a community of great people, man. If you want to be involved, you can always be involved, man. I appreciate everybody for stopping by today. Come back tomorrow. We'll be here, man. I'll drop some more content on ya. I'm out of here, man. Eat something. It's your boy Cardinal Red. Salute, man. See y'all tomorrow, man. Appreciate it.